Chapter 1, The Cheat That Has Been Silent for 3 Years. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Feng, to this day, you've been here for 3 years. After 3 years, you cannot even forge the simplest knight's longsword. I think you should start considering a new path. You know about Avril's feelings towards you, but at the rate you're going, how will you take care of her in the future? Furthermore, you know the current situation regarding her father. Saying so, the dwarf turned around and left, leaving Feng all alone in the blacksmith shop. Feng rubbed his nose, showing a bitter smile on his face. The person earlier was called Nyzo, one of the members of the small dwarf race and also the owner of this blacksmith shop, a famous master blacksmith of Osborne City. 3 years ago, it was Nyzo that brought him back to the blacksmith shop, preventing him from dying of illness in the streets. And the day that Nyzo brought him back was also the day that he transmigrated to this world. For the last 3 years in the blacksmith shop, Feng had been working hard to learn the art of forging techniques. But even after 3 years, he did not succeed even once. If not for Nyzo's kindness, he would have been chased out already. For the last 3 years, he saw batches of students leaving the blacksmith shop. Be it those who came earlier than him or those who came later, regardless of their status, they had all become blacksmiths. Only he was the anomaly. Nyzo had talked to Feng many times, asking him to find a new path for himself. However, he could not overcome the combined force of Feng's persistence and Avril's pleas. Avril was the goddaughter of Nyzo. She was also the daughter of one of the 3 advanced knights of Osborne City, Eric. Because of Eric and Nyzo's friendship, he acknowledged Avril as his goddaughter. From their interactions over these 3 years, Avril also developed some feelings for Feng. Shaking his head and tossing away his scattered thoughts, Feng walked to the forge and held up the hammer at the side. Soon, the sound of metals clashing could be heard from within the blacksmith shop. Outside, Nyzo shook his head helplessly. He did not want to chase Feng away either, but if Feng could create even a single most basic knight's longsword, it would have been fine. But the reality was, Feng did not even manage to forge a single knight's longsword. Not only that, Feng did not show any talent in cultivation either. He showed no signs of being able to become a knight or awaken the potential to use magic. Such a person could only be an ordinary man in this life. If he were to die one day, how could Feng take over the entire blacksmith shop alone? Rather than that, he might as well start making preparations to find ways for Feng to survive on his own in the future. Right after Nyzo made this decision, he decided that after getting the materials this time, he would find his old friend and try to arrange a simple job for Feng. Manhwa continent. It was a world with magic and knights. Not only were there humans, there were also vampires, elves, dwarves, and other races. Feng was currently in Osborne City, a city at the fringe of the Tsama Empire of Manhwa continent. Even though there was no war ongoing, the rules of the survival of the fittest still remained. A person like Feng without talent or skill had absolutely no status at all. Even though Nyzo was around now, he could not protect Feng forever. In the blacksmith shop, Feng's hammer was still pounding on the iron block that was glowing reddish black and had yet to take form. The sweat from his forehead fell on the iron block, creating sizzling noises. At this moment, Feng's expression was filled with determination. He had to succeed. He did not want to leave the blacksmith shop. He did not want his hard work of over 3 years to end up with nothing. Right now, there was no alternative for him but to succeed. It has been 3 years, why can't I succeed even once? Even once. Feng was unrelenting. He was a transmigrator, he had his cheat too. But for the last 3 years, his cheat had been like a piece of trash. It stayed dormant in his mind. Sometimes, Feng even wondered if his cheat was non-existent. World Creator System. It had activated 3 years ago when he first arrived. He originally thought that his future would be bright with this cheat system that he had, but to think that it went totally silent for 3 years. It did not have any impact on Feng's life whatsoever. In fact, he could pretty much live without its existence. At least then, he could still look forward to something. Wiping the sweat off his face and forgetting about the matter of his system, Yifeng continued swinging his hammer on the iron block. Now, he only wanted to change his current situation through hard work and diligence. Ding! Congratulations to the host for failing to forge 1,000 times, you have successfully activated the World Creator System. Suddenly, a clear voice resounded in Yifeng's mind. Hearing this, Yifeng was first stunned before starting to feel extreme joy. Failing to forge 1,000 times? That was the true way to awaken his system? Thankfully, he did not give up and continued forging, otherwise, he would have never been able to activate this system. He who worked hard would be rewarded. Was Yifeng going to start rising to the peak of his life now? At the next second, Yifeng's smile froze on his face. When he tried earlier to communicate with the World Creator System in his mind, it showed no response. Don't tell me this is like 3 years ago, is it toying with me? Yifeng cursed in displeasure. It seems that he could not count on his cheat system, he had to continue forging earnestly. Thinking so, Yifeng put away his disappointment and cast his gaze at the iron block again. With a tinkling sound, the iron block was sent into the furnace to melt with the ore. After thoroughly mixing together, Yifeng poured the molten liquid metal back into the mold. After it became cooler, he continued to forge using his hammer. He did not know how much time had passed, but Yifeng still struck with the hammer tirelessly, and the palm of his hand that was holding the hammer became wounded from friction, spilling a trace of blood. After his tireless forging, the knight's longsword gradually took shape. After the sword was heated again to create the hilt, a refined knight's longsword was forged. Looking at the knight's longsword in his hand, Yifeng could not help but reveal a smile. Compared to his past failed works, this sword was much sharper and harder. I finally succeeded? Yifeng could not help but feel a sense of joy. After 3 years, he had finally forged a passable knight's longsword. Even though it was only the most basic knight's longsword, it bore a huge significance to Yifeng. Ding! Congratulations to the host for creating a Stage 1 inferior grade knight's longsword, you have obtained 10 fire elemental points. Suddenly, the clear voice from earlier resounded in Yifeng's mind again. As the voice faded away, Yifeng could feel a new source of energy out of nowhere flowing along his veins and tendons, filling his entire body with energy. Right now, Yifeng felt like he had endless stamina, his body also felt lighter than before. Yifeng was extremely happy, he quickly looked towards the knight's longsword in his hands. Knight's longsword. Grade, Stage 1 inferior grade. Attack power, 90. Durability, 100. Special trait, none. I will get rewarded for forging new weapons? The system wants me to continue on the path of forging? Feeling the strength in his body, Yifeng could not help but mutter. If he were to gain such a reward each time he succeeded in forging a weapon, would it still be a dream to become powerful? And as his strength increased, the things that he could forge would become more advanced. This was a virtuous cycle. At this moment, Yifeng saw a promising path ahead of him. This affirmed his decision to stay in the blacksmith shop. But the question now was, would he get a reward each time he succeeded in forging something? Chapter 2. Chapter 2, Collapsed Door. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. 3 days passed quickly, Yifeng was engrossed in forging, he simply could not stop. After 3 days of continuous forging without rest, Yifeng finally obtained the result he wanted. Each time he succeeded in forging something, he would receive a certain number of fire elemental points as a reward. After absorbing the fire elemental points, he would be restored to peak condition. Sensing the energy surging in his body, Yifeng revealed a smile on his face. Right now, I should have strength equivalent to an apprentice knight? Maybe I can try forging Stage 1 superior grade weapons? Right when Yifeng was about to take the materials, he heard someone knocking on the door. Yifeng subconsciously stopped in his tracks, showing some suspicion in his eyes. It was late at night now, who would come over at this time? Did Nyzo return after getting his materials? Thinking about that, Feng went to the door. After opening the room door, the one standing outside was not Nyzo, it was a beautiful young woman wearing a knight's armor. She carried a helmet in one hand and a knight's longsword in the other. She smiled as she looked at Feng. Avril. Right now, her attire showed that she had just completed a mission. The blood on her armor had not yet been cleaned. Brother Feng, did you miss me? Avril said in a joyful tone. Of course I did, but why did you come over at this time? Why didn't you go home after completing your mission? Feng smiled and replied. You are not honest, you say you miss me but you want me to go home? Avril rolled her eyes. Feng smiled bitterly. He knew about Avril's love, of course, he liked her as well, but he soon thought of her father. The one who stood between them was Eric, one of the 3 advanced knights of Osborne City. He did not think highly of Feng, he naturally would not let him date his daughter Avril. Avril, it's too late now, hurry up and go home, we can talk tomorrow. I refuse, brother Feng, do you not like me anymore? How can that be, I've never stopped liking you. Hee, that's all I want to hear, I've decided. Decided what? Feng asked in confusion. That I'm not leaving tonight. Saying so, Avril went past Feng, entering the blacksmith shop and making her way to Feng's room in a familiar manner. Seeing this, Feng smiled bitterly as he quickly caught up with her. By the time Feng reached his own room, Avril had already taken off her armor. Because of Avril's initiative, the two had a sleepless night. After waking up, Feng looked at Avril who was beside him and showed a gentle and warm smile. After looking at her for a while, seeing that Avril was still sound asleep, Feng did not interrupt her, he went to the front courtyard. Now, he was no longer alone. After last night's event, he was officially a man now, he had to bear the responsibility of protecting his woman. Becoming stronger was no longer a choice, it was a necessity. In the warehouse, as Feng's gaze swept over various materials, the details of each material would quickly show up in his mind. Suddenly, Feng's gaze landed on a black rock. Black iron stone. Grade, Stage 2 Superior Grade. Special trait, because it came into contact with the blood of a powerful vampire, a change occurred, there is a slight chance that forging an equipment with it will grant the bloodlust attribute. Even though he did not know what the bloodlust attribute was, it sounded very impressive. I'll use you, maybe I can forge a Stage 2 weapon and gift it to Avril as a token of my love. Feng observed the changed black iron stone for a while before making up his mind. Ding! Detecting that the host has found a special material, the host will be rewarded with the forging blueprint of Bloodlust Sword. Once the voice said that, Feng gained a new wave of information in his mind. After digesting his new information, Feng showed a smile on his face. Good luck could not be blocked. All the materials needed to forge the Bloodlust Sword were in this warehouse. Thus, Feng prepared the materials and lit the furnace, starting to forge the Bloodlust Sword. Stage 2 materials were very hard, their melting point was much higher than Stage 1 materials. Focusing on feeding the furnace, after 2 hours, the black iron stone finally melted. Feng then added the rest of the materials in, fusing them with the black iron stone. After the fusion was completed, Feng started to forge the Bloodlust Sword. Different from Stage 1 weapons, forging Stage 2 weapons would sometimes require specific hammering methods. If one was careless, the might of the weapon that was forged would be lower than expected. The preparation of the materials took 2 hours, while the forging took an entire day. During that period, Avril stayed by Feng's side, she did not speak or interrupt him. But her eyes were filled with curiosity and surprise when she looked at Feng. She knew clearly what Feng was capable of. Even without mentioning his forging techniques, just the fact that Feng was not even at the level of an apprentice knight meant that it was impossible for him to forge for an entire day without rest. Furthermore, there was the huge battle the previous night. At this moment, Avril could not help but think of a question internally: since when did Feng become so powerful? At the same time, Avril also made preparations to ask Yifeng these questions later. But right at this moment, under the illumination of the lamp, a trace of bloodlight flashed past her eyes, causing Avril to look towards the bloodlust sword in Yifeng's hand. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging the Stage 2 superior grade, Bloodlust Sword. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 fire elemental points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining offensive skill, Bloodlust. A series of system notifications rang. Before Yifeng had time to rejoice, he felt that his body was being filled with energy. And at this moment, he had successfully become a knight. After his energy stabilized, Yifeng revealed a smile that could not be concealed. Was this the feeling of being filled with strength? Yifeng felt like he could kill a bull with one punch. After checking the strength in his body, Yifeng turned his gaze towards the Bloodlust Sword. Bloodlust Sword. Grade, Stage 2 Superior Grade. Attack Power, 970. Durability, 100. Special Trait, when in combat, Bloodlust attribute is automatically active, increasing the user's combat strength by 10%. Strong. Very strong. Nearly 1,000 attack power and also a combat strength boosting effect. It was simply equivalent to a Stage 2 Supreme Grade. Yifeng did not expect that his first attempt to forge a Stage 2 weapon would succeed like this. It was even a Stage 2 superior grade that rivaled a Supreme Grade. Not just him, even Avril was completely stunned. Was this the Yifeng that she knew? Brother Yifeng, when did you become so amazing? I had some fortuitous encounters a few days ago. Yifeng smiled and replied. Fortuitous encounters? What sort of encounter can make a person so powerful in just a few days? In the past, you could not even forge a single Stage 1 knight's longsword. Bam! Before Yifeng replied, a huge sound could be heard. Yifeng turned around subconsciously and saw that the door had collapsed inwards from the outside. A middle-aged man with a dark expression appeared outside the door. Chapter 3. Chapter 3, Special Trait Offensive Skill. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Seeing the middle-aged man, Yifeng was not in the mood to care about the collapsed door. He quickly tried to think of a way to respond to this man. Even though he was a knight now, in front of this man, he still had to lower his head. Eric. One of the 3 advanced knights of Osborne City. He was also Avril's father. When Eric saw Avril, who was standing beside Yifeng, his expression turned livid. Avril did not return home the previous night. She stayed at his place until now. Eric did not need to think to know what had happened. Rascal kid, you dare to defile Avril, I am going to slaughter you today. Saying so, Eric released a terrifying aura as he prepared to charge towards Yifeng. Father, what are you doing? I'm warning you, don't think of touching brother Yifeng. I am a willing party in this. Avril quickly stood in front of Yifeng. Seeing this, Eric's expression turned even colder. He stared at Yifeng fiercely, not concealing the killing intent in his eyes. Avril, step aside, I'm going to slaughter this kid. No, if you dare to touch brother Yifeng, I will die in front of you. You? Avril, you cannot be so foolish, he does not suit you, you are trying to ruin your own future. Eric had a helpless expression. I don't care how you help him normally, but I will not agree to you two getting together. Father, I am not a kid anymore, I have my own right to choose, you cannot interfere. Avril, can you be more rational? Yifeng is not even a knight, how can he protect you in the future? Right as Avril was about to speak, Yifeng stopped her. Yifeng pulled Avril behind him and showed a smile to indicate to her that she should leave this to him. Uncle Eric, I reached knight level strength some time ago, but I did not have enough time to go get the certification. Next, Yifeng turned to look at Eric, not showing fear towards that killer gaze. Eric was slightly stunned. He carefully observed Yifeng's aura. You really broke through? That's right, Uncle Eric, can I be with Avril now? Of course not, you only broke through to become a knight at this age. Avril's future will be ruined if she is with you. Eric refused to agree as he asked, Feng, I know you like Avril, but are you willing to ruin her life like this? Seeing that Avril could not be convinced, Eric decided to try convincing Feng instead. But Feng was not going to waver because of Eric's words. Uncle Eric, don't worry, not only will I not hold Avril back, I will also try to help her. Feng said confidently. A few days ago, Feng would not be so confident, but now, he had the assurance. Help her? With what? So what if you became a knight? So what if you succeeded in forging something? Do you think that with your talent, you can be of help to Avril? With this. Feng raised the bloodless sword in his hand, tossing it towards Eric. Uncle Eric, if you think that I cannot be of help to Avril after seeing this, I have nothing to say, but I will not break up with her. Avril looked at Feng's broad shoulders while feeling a warm sensation internally, her small hands grabbing Feng's large hand. Father, I will not break up with brother Feng either. Eric received the bloodless sword and stared at Avril snappily before looking at the sword. Stage 2 superior grade? Eric was slightly surprised. You made this? That's right, I completed it before you came in here. A Stage 2 superior grade sword with Stage 2 supreme grade power. Kid, did you find this somewhere to try and deceive me? Eric looked at the bloodless sword again. According to what I know, you have never succeeded in forging anything. How can you create a Stage 2 superior grade weapon all of a sudden? Father, brother Feng is not the same as before. I watched the entire forging process myself. Avril quickly added. Eric was unhappy with Avril's interjection, but after staring at her, he looked at Feng again. Uncle Eric, why would I lie to you? If you find that I have deceived you, I will leave Avril immediately. Is that enough? I will believe you once, but if I find that you lied to me, you will die a terrible death. Eric snorted loudly. Right now, Eric's expression had become calmer, the killing intent in his eyes vanished without a trace. Uncle Eric, don't worry, I won't ever lie to you. Feng was speaking the truth. Eric was an advanced knight, his strength could not be resisted. If Feng lied to him, he would suffer a horrible outcome. Since you can forge this weapon, I need 20 Stage 2 weapons, I will let you make them. At this time, Eric said. Speaking so, Eric tossed a bag of gold coins to Feng. I will come collect the goods in 10 days. Leave it to me. After taking the bag of gold coins, Feng said confidently. Next, Feng gave Avril the bloodless sword before Eric brought his daughter away from the blacksmith shop. The bloodless sword was meant for Avril to begin with, he was also just a blacksmith and did not need to fight, thus the sword was merely an accessory to him. Even though he was a little upset when Avril left, Feng had to concentrate on forging weapons, he did not have time to waste, thus he did not ask her to stay. Furthermore, Eric would not allow Avril to live together with Feng without a proper status. After the two left, Feng did not enter the warehouse immediately, he checked his new reward after forging the bloodlust sword. Offensive skill, Bloodlust. Special trait, when combat begins, increase the user's combat strength by 10%, lasting for 5 minutes. Offensive skills that raised combat strength seemed powerful, but they were useless to Feng. Feng had no interest in fighting or killing others. If he had the time, he might as well forge more weapons. Since forging could raise his strength, what was the point of fighting? If not for that fact that it was non-transferable, he would have given the offensive skill to Avril. Putting the matter of the offensive skill aside, Feng entered the warehouse and started to prepare and forge the weapons. 20 Stage 2 weapons in 10 days. The truth was, Feng was not absolutely confident of completing the task. But at this point in time, he had to do his best to try and complete it. The question now was, how much would his strength increase after forging 20 Stage 2 weapons? Would he be able to reach the level of intermediate knight? Chapter 4. Chapter 4, Finding Treasure. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. The next morning. Feng repaired the blacksmith shop's door before heading to the market to buy the materials that he lacked. The bag of gold coins that Eric gave was sufficient to get all the materials he needed. The market was open to free trade. Most of the goods were materials that adventurers brought back from their exploration. When Nyzo was around, Feng would often help to purchase materials in the market. He had a rather clear understanding of the market's situation. Other than getting the materials for the 20 Stage 2 weapons, Feng had another goal. He wanted to find some special materials, like the black iron stone that underwent some special change. With the system's analysis, he could easily decipher if those materials had special traits. After getting all the materials he needed, Feng started to tour the market. Indeed, his hard work paid off. Feng's gaze landed on a piece of purple crystal. Purple obsidian. Grade, Stage 3 middle grade. Special trait, having absorbed the power of lightning, it has gotten much stronger. After forging the equipment, it will gain the power of lightning. He found a treasure. The power of lightning was the attribute with the strongest attack power. If this purple obsidian was used to forge a weapon, its power would be higher than the Bloodlust sword. If it became a Stage 3 weapon, it could be given to Eric as a gift. That would be a good present to his future father-in-law. After making up his mind, Feng bought the purple obsidian. Ding! Detecting that the host has found a special material, the host will be rewarded with the forging blueprint of Thunder Sword and the chart of Lightning Formation. Hearing the clear voice in his head, Feng felt a sense of joy. To think that this purple obsidian did not just reward him a forging blueprint, it also gave him a formation chart. Having stayed with Nyzo for so many years, Feng's efforts were not wasted. Formations were only usable by weapons of Stage 3 and above. They had to be carved on the weapon before they were formed. That would be considered a true Stage 3 weapon. However, carving formations was a difficult matter. With any slight carelessness, the forging would fail. This was also why forging Stage 3 weapons had a low rate of success. Returning to the blacksmith shop, Feng closed the door and lit the furnace. He was completely invested in the forging process. Feng did not hurry to use the purple obsidian or forge the Stage 2 weapons. He searched for a bunch of ordinary materials to practice the lightning formation first. At the same time, Feng had a daring idea in his mind. Using a tiny amount of Stage 2 materials together with some Stage 1 materials and adding a formation, he wanted to see what grade the forged weapon would be. Time passed gradually. The sound of hammering could be heard from the blacksmith shop unceasingly. After several failed attempts, Feng finally succeeded in carving the lightning formation onto the weapon. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging the Stage 2 inferior grade, Knight's Longsword. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 50 fire elemental points, 50 lightning elemental points, and an increase in physical strength. Knight's Longsword. Grade, Stage 2 inferior grade. Attack power, 520. Durability, 100. Special trait, there is a chance to add lightning to attacks and increase attack power by 10%. Success. He successfully forged a Stage 2 weapon. Even though it was only Stage 2 inferior grade, Feng merely used less than a third of the Stage 2 materials compared to forging a normal Stage 2 weapon. If news of this spread, some of the master blacksmith's jaws would drop. Even though it lacked durability, the impact was small. After all, this knight's longsword was able to reach Stage 2 because of the supplemented formation. Can I try to use a large amount of Stage 2 materials and a small amount of Stage 3 materials to forge a Stage 3 weapon? Placing the knight's longsword aside, Feng had another daring idea in his head. It was worth a shot. Thinking so, Feng raised the temperature of the furnace and took out the small amount of Stage 3 materials that he had. The new round of forging started. Feng was completely invested in his work. His bronze-colored skin shone like oil under the light of the furnace. He gave off a manly aura. After a day and night passed, along with countless hammer strikes, a brand new weapon took shape. After Feng controlled the energy in his body to carve the formation on the weapon, it was finally completed. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging the Stage 2 Superior Grade, Knight's Heavy Sword. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 Fire Elemental points, 100 Lightning Elemental points, and an increase in physical strength. Knight's Long Sword. Grade, Stage 2 Superior Grade. Attack Power, 900. Durability, 100. Special Trait, there is a chance to add lightning to attacks and increase attack power by 10%. The forging succeeded, but Feng was not happy. Because his goal was to make a Stage 3 weapon, but the product was only Stage 2 Superior Grade. But thinking about it, Feng understood why. Even though Stage 2 and 3 weapons were only separated by one realm, there was still a huge gap between them. Right now, he had just started to learn how to carve formations, he had more chances in the future. After stopping, Feng did not invest himself into forging immediately, he checked his own body first. Right now, his body did not just have fire elemental points, there were also lightning elemental points. The energy contained in each type of element was different, he had more fire element and less lightning element, it was likely due to the weapons he created. But what Feng did not understand was the effect that these elements had on his body. In the future, would elements of other attributes enter his body as well? Even though Feng was a normal person before, he knew some things about cultivation. In Manhwa continent, there were two main classes, knights and magicians. Knights mainly relied on their physical strength while magicians were the opposite, they seemed to fight using the elements of the natural world. But the difficulty of becoming a magician was 100 times as hard as becoming a knight, thus, magicians were very rare, their statuses were naturally higher as well. As for the fusion of both classes, it would be even harder, even in 1,000,000 people, there might not be one who was simultaneously a magician and a knight. Then, in his current condition, was he considered a magician? Shaking his head, Feng did not continue to think about this question. Forging was his main concern now. Thinking about it, Feng continued to use a small amount of Stage 3 materials together with mainly Stage 2 materials to forge. Regardless of whether he could make a Stage 3 weapon, as long as these were at least Stage 2, he could complete the task that Eric gave him. But to test his hypothesis regarding the elements, Feng chose mostly fire elemental materials. Not long after, the sounds of hammering could be heard in the blacksmith shop again, it was like a symphony. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging the Stage 2 Superior Grade, Blazing Greatsword. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 Fire Elemental points, and an increase in physical strength. Blazing Greatsword. Grade, Stage 2 Superior Grade. Attack Power, 930. Durability, 100. Special Trait, there is a chance to add a burning effect to attacks and cause additional damage to the target. Next, Feng checked his own body, he found that the fire element and lightning element were moving around unceasingly, helping out each other. It was clear that the energy of the fire element surpassed the lightning element, it was much fiercer. Thinking about it, Feng tried to communicate with the elemental energy in his body. At the next moment, a fireball appeared in his hand. Looking at the fireball, Feng was overjoyed. Was he considered a magician now? Chapter 5. Chapter 5, Someone Wants to Fight. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. But according to what he knew, magicians needed to chant incantations to use their magic, so what was this situation? Next, Feng sensed the lightning element in his body. Similar to the fire element, with just a thought, a flash of lightning appeared abruptly. Looking at the lightning, Feng could not help but think of something. He obtained lightning elemental points when he forged weapons with the lightning formation, then in the future, if he obtained other elemental materials, would he also gain their elemental magic as well? Right when Feng was thinking about this, the lightning bolt descended before him. There was a loud sound. Because of Feng's lack of control, the lightning bolt landed on a tree in the courtyard. The green and lush tree instantly became charred black. And at the root of the tree, there was a deep pit of over several meters. Nyzo, who had just opened the door of the blacksmith shop, was momentarily stunned. What are you trying to do? Teacher, why did you return now? Feng looked at Nyzo and smiled sheepishly. If I had not returned, were you going to tear my shop down? Nyzo said snappily. Why would I do that? I was merely testing the elements in my body. Screw testing. I have already made arrangements for you. Uncle Marshall, who works at the port, needs a steward. You can pack up and head there now. Nyzo said grumpily. But once he finished his words, Nyzo reacted and looked at Feng with shock. What did you say earlier? I was testing the elements in my body. Feng said helplessly. What elements? Show me. Nyzo was very agitated. Feng did not hesitate. He directly mustered the lightning element in his body and did not lose control like the previous time. Oh, great deity of forging, you actually have lightning elements in your body? Nyzo was extremely excited. Since when did this happen? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Not long ago. Oh heaven, to think that you have the talent of a magician, and it is the extremely rare lightning element. It seems like I have been wasting your talent all these years. That is not true, teacher. I only found out about this recently. Alright, enough talk. Pack up and go meet Eric with me. You are a lightning elemental magician. Eric is going to be overjoyed. He knows many people. I will make him find a way to get you into the Academy of Aiden City. Seeing Nyzo's excitement, Feng could not help but smile bitterly. Even though they had lived together for 3 years, he was still not used to that impatient nature. Teacher, I do not want to go. I want to stay here and continue learning forging techniques in peace. Nonsense, you have the rare lightning element in your body. Continuing to learn forging techniques will only hold you back. Also, aren't you clear of your own ability in forging? All of your creations in the last 3 years have been trash. Can't you accept reality? Let's go. Teacher, I have already forged a stage 2 weapon. What? Stage 2 weapon? Don't joke with me, you could not even make a stage 1 weapon a few days ago. I'm not kidding, I'll show you. Saying so, Feng pointed at the weapons that he had just forged earlier. Nyzo was stunned. He subconsciously looked towards the direction that Feng pointed at. After freezing for a few seconds, he quickly held up one of the swords and inspected them. Nyzo's expression turned from surprise into shock. When he looked at the final sword, he went into a complete daze. Teacher, how is it? I didn't lie to you, right? Feng looked at Nyzo's reaction. He showed a smile on his face. After Nyzo regained his senses, the shock on his face did not go away. Oh great deity of forging, what did I just witness? Feng, I take back what I said earlier. You are a forging genius. From today onwards, I will hand this blacksmith shop to you. It is time for me to leave. Teacher, where are you going? Feng was stunned as he quickly asked. I am going to search for a type of special material. I won't be back for some time. With your current ability, I can finally leave the blacksmith shop with you. What material? I might be able to help you. No need, I can handle my own matters. There is no need to trouble you. Nyzo shook his head and said, I originally wanted to arrange a job for you first, but now there is no need for that. I can leave without worry. Here are some stage 3 materials. You can use them to train your forging techniques. After saying that, Nyzo gave Feng some metallic materials. Seeing that Nyzo was turning around and leaving, Feng wanted to send him off but was rejected. He had no choice but to watch as Nyzo left. After this departure, he did not know when they would meet again. Feng could not help but feel a little reluctant about it. He had only managed to survive these 3 years because of Nyzo. Even though he called Nyzo teacher, in his heart, he had already treated him as family. Seeing Nyzo's figure vanished into the street, Feng went back into the blacksmith shop, preparing to look at the materials that Nyzo left him. But right at this time, Avril, who wore a white armor, appeared at the blacksmith shop. Avril was here to say goodbye to Feng as well. She was going on a mission again. And her destination was the Demon Beast Canyon that was several hundred miles away. She could not return in the meantime. The two spent some time together in the blacksmith shop before Avril left reluctantly. "Brother Feng, you must wait for me in Osborne City. I will bring back forging materials for you." Feng nodded. Seeing that the people around him were leaving, he felt a little upset. But soon, he controlled his emotions. Only by getting stronger could he stop the people around him from leaving. Thus, Feng casted his gaze towards the materials that Nyzo left him. Lava Stone. Grade, Stage 3 Middle Grade. Special trait, having absorbed the power of lava for a long time, it possesses fire elemental attribute. There is a chance for the forged weapon to gain an additional special trait. 100 Years Iron Wood. Grade, Stage 3 Middle Grade. Special trait, having experienced wind and rain for many years, it is extremely tough. There is a chance for the forged weapon to gain an additional special trait. After looking at more than 10 Stage 3 materials, Feng was incredibly happy. In Osborne City, not only were Stage 3 materials rare, they were very expensive. It was very hard to gather so many Stage 3 materials. Next, Feng took a look and decided to use the 100 Years Ironwood to forge a weapon, to try and see if he could get any wood element reward. Fire element increased physical strength, lightning element had the strongest attack power, while wood element represented vitality. It had healing effects. There were many wood element doctors in Osborne City. If the wood element mutated and transformed into the life element, it would have far greater healing effects than wood element, but there were extremely few people with the life element. But right when Feng sorted out his materials and was ready to start forging, he heard a banging sound at the door. Feng could not help but frown. Hearing this loud banging, it was clear that the visitor did not come in peace. He had always been forging weapons in the blacksmith shop. He did not offend anyone, so who could it be? This could not be Eric, of course. There were still 7 days from their agreement of 10 days. He would not come here. So it was quite confusing who would come here now. Once Feng opened the door, he heard a loud voice. "Feng, I want to have a duel with you." Chapter 6. Chapter 6, Sick of Living. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Right when Feng was about to forge a Stage 3 weapon with wood attribute imbued in it, the door of the blacksmith shop was pounded and he heard a vicious shout when he opened the door in perplexity. "Feng, I want to have a duel with you." Feng looked at this muscular man who was 2 meters tall and had broad shoulders and an even thicker waist. He wore a silvery white armor that complemented his heroic demeanor. But the man was carrying his helmet instead of wearing it. His extremely grotesque face was exposed, completely ruining his image. Having lived in Osborne City for 3 years, Feng knew who this was. It was the son of Osborne City Lord Donald. Donald had always been in love with Avril. After Feng and Avril's intimate night, he came the very next day. This was quite an interesting situation. To think that it is this shabby blacksmith shop, only servants would come here in the past. It is truly humiliating to my noble status that I came personally. Donald knew that Feng liked Avril too. He pinched his nose and showed a look of disgust to purposely provoke Feng. But Feng was not affected. "Oh? Is that so? Since the blacksmith shop is an insult to your noble status, why don't you leave? I am busy now. Forgive me for not attending to you." "You." Donald gritted his teeth, not expecting that Feng did not take the bait. After looking around the blacksmith shop, he stopped wasting time. He snorted coldly, "I heard that you are a knight now? Then in the name of the sacred holy sword, I challenge you to a duel between knights." "I reject it, please leave." Feng said plainly as he shut the door of the blacksmith shop. Donald was left standing outside, staring blankly into space. With Feng's easygoing temperament, no matter how Donald provoked him, he would only treat this Osborne City's young master as heir. He would never do anything excessive to Donald. The ridiculous duel between knights was completely pointless in his perspective. He would rather forge something using that time. Besides, he felt disdain towards fighting someone like Donald. Now that Feng was about to forge a Stage 3 wood attribute weapon, he had no time to waste with this young master of Osborne City, and now that the world creator system had awakened, his forging technique would become more and more proficient as he practiced. Furthermore, the World Creator system would also raise Yifeng's strength according to the quality of the forged weapon, making him stronger and stronger, and also giving him more offensive skills. Thus, only strength and forging ability mattered to him. In the future, he could become a supreme expert through his forging. Nobody would dare to make any slightest comment about him and Avril being together. A person like Donald, in Yifeng's eyes, was simply a clown. He could not even be bothered to deal with him. When trying to compete with an expert, the weaker party would always lose out regardless of result. If he had so much time, he might as well forge 2 more weapons. But Donald, who was standing outside, did not think like this. He was the son of Osborne City Lord. Anyone who met him had to give him respect, but he was actually treated like this by a tiny blacksmith shop. With more and more spectators coming, he felt that his pride was damaged. He was getting embarrassed. Donald became overcome with rage. He kicked the door of the blacksmith shop away. This broken door was merely like a piece of paper to an intermediate knight like him. Feng, you have to duel me even if you refuse. You are not suitable for Avril. Today's duel will determine who is the true person suited for Avril. Feng looked at the fallen door in a daze. His whole face trembled with anger. His eyebrows were knitted together, and there was already a strong trace of anger between his eyebrows. Ever since his transmigration, he had been easygoing with anyone, but deep in his heart, within his subconscious mind, there were 2 lines that could not be crossed. One was his lover Avril, the other was his teacher who he treated like a father, Nyzo. Nyzo's lifelong effort was spent on this blacksmith shop. Now that the door was broken by the spoiled young master, it was simply a slap on Nyzo's face. This could not be forgiven. Donald pounced menacingly. With a knight's heavy sword in his hand, he struck at Yifeng's head, and as he got closer and closer to Yifeng's skull, his mouth showed a brutal expression of hatred, making his ugly face even more hideous. Even if he killed this kid who defiled the sacred goddess, it would not be a problem. He was the son of Osborne City Lord, while the other was an employee of this blacksmith shop. It was evident whose life had more value. Die! Right when Donald's heavy sword was about to land on Yifeng, and those spectators of Osborne City thought that this blacksmith kid was about to be slaughtered. Yifeng moved. With an intense spark in the blacksmith shop, a silver-white figure flew out of the shop with a loud bang. He even rolled over a few times. Scram! If you damage the blacksmith shop any further, I will take your life. Yifeng said coldly and looked around at the crowd. He then picked up the door that had fallen to the ground, and after a while of hammering, the door was fixed again. Yifeng did not care about the matters outside of the shop. He also did not care about Donald, but if he dared to cause any more damage to the shop, Yifeng would do as he said. Yifeng placed the 100 years iron wood on the table, preparing to forge the stage 3 weapon. After all, Avril often went on missions. If she could have a wood attribute defensive equipment, she would have increased survivability. One had to know, the healing effect of wood attributes surpassed ordinary herbs. Hammering sounds started to resound in the blacksmith shop, while the outside also went quiet. Stage 3 weapons seemed to be only 1 level higher than Stage 2, but with the difference of 3 levels of quality, the forging difficulty was obvious. This was also a newbie who had just forged his first weapon less than a week ago. As the incomplete weapon was revealed, beads of sweat appeared on Yifeng's forehead. If he was able to finish the Stage 3 weapon in one go, then it would be easier to enchant next. He would most likely get a powerful Stage 3 middle grade weapon. The final strike would decide success or failure. Yifeng raised the hammer to the air. Suddenly, a sound came from the door again. It did not just fall over, it was completely smashed to pieces. He saw that Donald was in a sword stance with many followers behind him. There were roughly over 50 people, all of them wore armor. Yifeng, so what if I destroy your blacksmith shop today? Yifeng did not manage to complete the last strike. The incomplete weapon shattered like the door. His eyes squinted into a fine line. An intense rage that was unprecedented filled his mind and body. Donald, you must be sick of living. Chapter 7. Chapter 7, Magic Outburst. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Yifeng, who was normally easygoing, burst out with intense rage at this moment. This anger did not appear when others called him useless at forging, or when Eric forced him to break up with Avril. But now that Donald destroyed the door of the blacksmith shop, he finally erupted completely. Feng used the light of the blacksmith shop to conceal the fact that he knew magic earlier. He used fire elemental energy to send Donald flying. But this guy did not learn his lesson. He came back with even more servants. Donald held his chest. He was a young master indeed, but he was not stupid. He had gone to many huge events with his father. Against the unknown method that managed to send him flying, he became extremely alert. To play safe, he even brought many henchmen. Donald did not dare to enter directly. He stood outside the shop and shouted, "The dwarf blacksmith called Nyzo knows you are a useless trash. He should have left you many treasures to protect yourself, right? You can come try." Feng stood within the blacksmith shop, holding the hammer in his right hand. It seemed very threatening. Donald gulped with a very nervous expression. He waved his hand for two henchmen to enter first, but once they stepped into the blacksmith shop, they were sent flying. They cried out on the ground in pain. There was no warning. "You too, did you see what happened?" The two henchmen shook their heads. The moment they stepped into the blacksmith shop, they felt a strong gust of wind before they were sent out without warning. Feng snorted coldly. "What? The great young master of the city lord does not even dare to enter a mere blacksmith shop? Then fine, I will come out to talk with you." Saying so, Feng stepped on the broken door and lifted the curtain to arrive at the street. His upright body and the coldness between his eyebrows made his aura rival the 50 or more servants of the city lord manor. All of those lackeys who were not fit to be called humans took a step back in unison. Donald refused to believe that a useless person would become so strong overnight. That old dwarf must have left him some amazing treasures. The dwarf race was the most mysterious race on Manhwa continent. They could forge weapons unimaginable to humans. Even divine weapons could be forged from their hammers. Donald smiled coldly. He held the stage 2 superior grade heavy sword that his father spent a lot of money to buy in his hand. It had a lot of metal elemental energy inside and had the offensive skill, slicing metal like mud. It could raise his combat strength to a great extent. "I want to see what this trash can rely on after leaving the blacksmith shop." Donald foolishly slashed at Feng. The latter only twisted his body to dodge the heavy sword that slammed on the ground, creating a huge pit on the road of the street. Feng struck swiftly with the hammer in his hand, hitting Donald's waist and sending this young master, who had no idea who he was trifling with, flying for several meters. The silvery white armor that he wore also cracked. He was in a pathetic state. Before Donald stood up, Feng jumped up and slammed the hammer down on his chest again. Crack! Donald coughed out a mouthful of blood. He sprawled weakly on the ground in disbelief. How could an intermediate knight like himself who was using a stage 2 superior grade sword be unable to even take one hit from a useless trash holding an ordinary hammer? Go! Kill him! Flatten this blacksmith shop to the ground! Kill him! Donald screamed at the top of his lungs, ordering his henchmen to attack Feng. More than 50 people surrounded Feng. They all had elementary knight-level combat strength. Their weapons also varied greatly. Feng's hammer could not defend against so many people. Using just his physical defense against them was quite difficult. Feng frowned. He had already used his bloodlust offensive skill. It raised his combat strength by 10%. Each time he waved his hammer, someone would fly backwards while coughing blood. But there were too many enemies. Sometimes, he would be unable to react to a few of them. After some time, the pressure that they emitted on him surpassed their young master. This cannot go on. If he concealed his strength any further, there might be trouble. Feng's expression turned harsh. He waved the hammer around to force them away. Next, he willed as an energy lump that was filled with fire elements burned intensely like a flame. Under everyone's gaze, this lump of fire energy exploded around him. When the fire elements dispersed, a series of crackling sounds could be heard in his hand. Purple lightning shot out directly at the surrounding armored knights. With the attack of fire and lightning, more than 50 enemies fell to the ground. They could not put up a resistance. "Donald, I already said it. If you dare to damage the blacksmith shop, I will dare to kill you." Fire energy gathered in Feng's hands again. Under everyone's shocked gaze, it exploded on Donald's body. "Retreat!" The enemy is too strong, we must retreat. Donald did not struggle at all, his eyes had turned white, it was unknown if he was still alive or dead. His henchman quickly grabbed him and retreated in panic. Feng did not give chase, he only looked at his surroundings before entering the blacksmith shop that was covered in red light again. Slam! In the city lord manor, a muscular man wearing elegant clothing destroyed the wooden table before him. His angry expression looked very similar to Donald. This person was Donald's father, the Osborne City Lord Nyzo. Even with so many people, you failed to capture a simple blacksmith. You even caused your young master to suffer such severe injuries. What were you doing? One person was kneeling on the ground, lowering his heads in silence. He was the leader of these guards. Now that they failed in their mission, the responsibility landed on him. Nyzo had a dark expression. I want you to capture that kid by today and bring me the treasures of that blacksmith shop to compensate for your failure, otherwise, you don't have to come back alive. A fierce and cruel expression flashed on this guard captain's face. He nodded solemnly and vanished on the spot. Humph. I do not believe that a superior class intermediate knight cannot take down a rascal like him. Chapter 8. Chapter 8, Beast Tide. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Night time. The blacksmith shop with only a curtain remaining emitted hammering sounds as Feng stood before the furnace, continuing to forge his stage 3 wood attribute weapon. Suddenly, there was a huge gust of wind as Feng's expression froze. He raised the hammer in his hand and heard a loud clank sound. Feng was forced to move back by several meters. This was an expert who came. He was at least a medial class intermediate knight in strength. I thought you would be someone formidable. The guard captain swung the silvery white sword in his hand again. Feng quickly blocked the attack, but his hammer was sent flying by the sword. Feng realized deeply that this opponent was very strong. He did not hesitate to use the fire and lightning elements that he had. But the guard captain did not give Feng this chance. A white light suddenly gathered in his hand and slammed down on Feng's hand, causing him to be knocked back. Feng crashed onto a table as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. This tiny blacksmith shop could not allow Feng to use his true strength. This is all you can do? The person looked at Feng with a cold smile on his face. While speaking, the sword in his hand did not stop moving. It slashed down at Feng again. Undeniably, if this hit landed on Feng, it would be a disastrous outcome. Boom! Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared before Feng. This person had an intensely pure and sacred aura. He had a sword that was even longer than his height, forcing the guard captain back with one move. I heard that the city lord is making a move on you. To think that they will send out an intermediate knight, this is quite something. Eric. Feng was overjoyed. The reason Eric was willing to save him was definitely because of Avril, but it was also a form of recognition from Eric. Eric saw through Feng's thoughts immediately. Don't misunderstand, Nyzo told me that you have the potential to be a magician. You have barely qualified to be a part of our family. Also, I need those 20 stage 2 weapons badly, so you cannot die. After that, Eric ignored Feng and looked at the guard captain coldly. Has the city lord manor fallen to this level? You are trying to bully a blacksmith kid to feel superiority? Superior class intermediate knight, Munak. The guard captain, whose name was Munak, smiled darkly. Eric, since you know it is the Grand City Lord Manor's order, you still dare to obstruct me? Don't you know that Osla and April are preying on you? You still dare to oppose the City Lord Manor? Bam! You speak too much. The long and thin silver sword immediately drew a red line of blood on Munak's neck. This superior class intermediate knight was unable to even take one attack from the advanced knight. Uncle Eric, thank you. No need for that, remember you have 3 days left. Eric only glanced at Feng as his armor shook and he vanished on the spot. Strength. Feng clenched his fists. He felt that he was still too weak. The advanced knight Eric was like a huge mountain standing in front of him. The only thing he could do now was to continue forging and get stronger. Feng had a firm expression. He lit the furnace again and held his hammer to start forging by shaping the mold. This time, it was very successful. He finished the final hit on the knight's dagger. There was a trace of joy on his face as he took out the 100 years ironwood. enchanting it according to the method in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging a Stage 3 middle grade nature dagger. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 wood elemental points and an increase in physical recovery ability. Nature dagger. Grade, Stage 3 middle grade. Attack power, 1580. Durability, 110. Special trait, when in combat, there will be a chance of recovering from injuries and regaining stamina. Next, Feng took a look at his physical condition. The fire elements and lightning elements continued to move around while enveloped in wood elements. Because of the vitality that the wood elements gave him, Feng, who had been forging for a day and night, felt his fatigue going away. At the same time, Donjito had already received Munak's corpse, who was sent back to the City Lord Manor. There was no expression on his face, he only came to the corpse and started inspecting it. Finally, at Munak's neck, he found a tiny wound. This type of fatal attack that could take the life of a superior class intermediate knight so subtly could only be unleashed by that advanced knight Eric. Eric, well done. It seems that Osla and April are not giving you enough pressure. You dare to provoke the City Lord Manor because of a kid from a tiny blacksmith shop. I swear to the glory of the sacred knights, I will make sure all of you die without a proper corpse. Donjito's ruthless expression was shown all over his face. Next, he summoned two subordinates and instructed sinisterly, go and find Osla and April in secret, tell them that if they want to devour Eric's forces, come to the City Lord Manor. The two subordinates acknowledged the order and left. Right after his subordinates left, in the demon beast forest behind Osborne City, there was a loud growl. This growl of the beast was like a rock that entered a tranquil lake. It created huge ripples in the quiet night of Osborne City. Donjito flustered immediately. There were many fierce and powerful demon beasts in the forest behind Osborne City. At the most inner core of the forest, there was a fierce demon beast that had never shown itself. It was said to have superior class advanced knight strength. If it was enraged, it could even injure bronze knights. A demon beast that could emit such a growl could only be the king of the demon beasts within the forest. Check, go and check it. We must be prepared against this. Don't let the beast tide gather. And at this time, inside the demon beast forest, there was a thin and long shadow, carrying a demon beast egg that was the size of a head, sprinting rapidly in the forest with countless demon beasts growling in a frenzy, chasing after the shadow. The reason was clearly because of the demon beast egg in the shadow's hands. Inside Osborne City, Feng looked at the nature dagger in his hand and showed a smile of satisfaction. But at the next moment, he heard a loud growl. Demon beast. At the first instant, Feng recognized what it was. Immediately, he kept away the nature dagger and his figure vanished from the blacksmith shop. Not long after, at the fringe of Osborne City, Feng looked at the attacking demon beasts as brilliance flashed across his eyes. This was a great chance for him. He could train his combat abilities while also hunting demon cores. Of course, Feng was not in a rush. If he charged into the tide of demon beasts now, it would be a suicidal move. Once the group that would resist the demon beasts gather, he could charge in along with them. Chapter 9. Chapter 9, Healing Effect of Nature Dagger. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Soon, at the other side of Osborne City, many people gathered. Most were the knights of the various clans, as well as some lone mercenaries. For some people, the beast tide was not just a beast tide, it was a great opportunity for them. Every demon beast had a demon core. Within the demon core, there was the origin energy of the demon beast, and even without the demon core, the demon beast's skin and bones were all great forging materials. Of course, the price would be high if they were sold as well. But in Yifeng's view, be it demon core, beast skin, or bones, they were all materials for him to forge weapons. In the blink of an eye, the beast tide arrived at the city. The knights and mercenaries quickly engaged in battle with the demon beasts. There was a constant stream of shouts and fighting sounds, mixed with the roars of countless beasts. Feng was not idle either. He rushed into the beast tide to look for prey. Stage 1 demon beasts were too weak. He had no desire to attack them, they would only waste his time. His targets were the Stage 2 or even higher demon beasts in this tide. But the demon beast forest near Osborne City was not big, there were few stage 2 demon beasts. Thus, in this beast tide, most were stage 1 demon beasts. As a result, Feng quickly moved through the beast tide, going towards the mountain near the back of the beast tide. That was the ideal destination, it had a large number of stage 2 demon beasts. Roar! At this time, a wild bull with a weird appearance attacked Feng suddenly. Wild bull. Grade, stage 2 inferior grade. Special trait, charging horn attack. Good timing. Feng was still worrying about where he could find the stage 2 demon beasts, to think that one would come to him the moment he arrived. The bull's horn rammed straight at Feng as he leaped up high, without even using the magic energy in his body. With one punch, he broke the hard horn on the bull's head and caused its brain to splatter as it died. Feng stepped forward, using the nature dagger to remove the wild bull's durable and flexible skin. He then found a shining brown demon core in the wild bull's broken skull. Wild bull demon core. Energy, earth elemental. Grade, stage 2. Special trait, when used to enchant a weapon, attack power will be raised. When used to enchant armor, defense power will be raised. Feng could not help but show a smug smile. He had not even tried to forge defensive equipment yet. One reason was that he lacked suitable materials, the other reason was that he did not have anything that could raise the defensiveness of an equipment. This stage 2 demon core of the wild bull satisfied the requirement. After this beast tide ends, he could try to forge a defensive equipment. Thinking so, Feng continued on his way. Before he even walked for a few steps, he was attracted by a rock nearby. There was an aura on that rock that could prickle one's skin. This demon beast forest did not just have demon beasts, it also had materials that were nurtured for many years. Feng quickly ran over and wanted to excavate the rock when suddenly, he heard some sounds near him as he subconsciously jumped and dodged the fatal attack. Snort. Steel boar. Grade, stage 2 middle grade. Special trait, extremely high defense, able to unleash wind that acts like blades. The steel boar's eyes were red as it stared at Feng, as if something had been taken away from it. It snorted again, and right when Feng thought it was going to pounce, but it actually opened its mouth and a gust of wind shot out from within. This beast. I haven't even touched it, right? Little beast, you are way too stingy, you are a disgrace to all beasts. Feng, who was still teasing the beast, did not show any mercy. A stage 2 middle grade demon beast was already enough for him to get serious, although the other party was just a boar. As the tornado wind that resembled blades attacked him, a huge and heated lump of magic energy gathered in Feng's hands. A fireball was produced that shot through the wind, landing on the steel boar's body. But this steel boar's defense was really amazing. Even after getting hit by this fire magic, it only flew away and shook its head before standing up again. Feng reassessed the immense defense of the steel boar. Its skin might be even tougher than the wild bull. This time, the steel boar did not use the wind attack, it charged at Feng with its tough body. Retreating was not Feng's style. Even though this demon beast was fierce, it was not threatening enough for him to use his full strength, thus he raised his dagger and stabbed at the steel boar's head. Clank! There was a metallic sound from the clash of the dagger and boar. Feng's hand turned numb from the impact. But that beast was not having an easy time either. Its red eyes were going to roll white. It started to stagger around. There was a huge wound on its head that exposed its skull. But this demon beast was still forcefully standing. Time to fall. Bam! Feng gathered magic flames in his hand again, pressing down on the steel boar's head, frying this demon beast's skull into a roasted boar head. A demon core shining in golden light rolled out on its own. Steel boar demon core. Energy, earth elemental. Grade, stage 2. Special trait, when used to enchant a weapon, attack power will be greatly raised. Feng did the same thing as earlier, taking the skin of the steel boar. This metallic skin made Feng frown. It was not a material that suited the forging of defensive equipment, it was more suitable to make bows and arrows. It is better than nothing. Next, Yifeng kept the demon cores away and was about to see what was below the rock when a figure suddenly appeared out of nowhere, slashing at him. Slash! The silvery white heavy sword directly tore across Yifeng's chest. He subconsciously retaliated with the nature dagger before taking a few steps back while scattering medicine on his wound. A trace of ruthlessness flashed on Yifeng's face. Sneak attack. He was sneak attacked again. After stabilizing his injuries, magic flames surged as a fireball shot towards the attacker. But that person easily avoided it. He then arrived before Yifeng and slashed with his knight's heavy sword again. Seeing this, Yifeng quickly raised his nature dagger to fight back. At the same time, lightning gathered in his other hand. While blocking the attacker, he also sent out one lightning bolt. Caught unguarded, the attacker was hit by the lightning bolt and fell into temporary paralysis. Yifeng did not hold back, his nature dagger slashed at that person. As the person lay in the pool of blood, a warm green light appeared on the nature dagger, healing Yifeng's wounds rapidly. Chapter 10. Chapter 10, Give you a few more. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Next, Yifeng searched the person's body and found 7 to 8 stage 2 demon cores. There was nothing else that was useful. But at this moment, Yifeng had an answer already. After facing these assassinations, he put the blame on Donald. Be it Donald or the city lord Donjido, they would have to pay the price. After calming his emotions, Yifeng walked towards that mysterious rock. Star Iron. Grade, Stage 3 Superior Grade. Special trait, having absorbed the power of the stars, when forging weapons, attack power can be raised. Stage 3 Material. It was definitely valuable. This trip was not in vain. Compared to the Stage 2 demon cores, the star iron made Yifeng happier. The beast tide lasted for 2 days. Yifeng stayed in the demon beast forest for 2 days and nights. He killed almost all of the demon beasts up till the midway of the mountain. He even gained another Stage 3 material, Ice Demon Core. It belonged to a Stage 3 inferior grade python. Its breath could freeze enemies. It had the strength of a human inferior grade advanced knight. In that battle, Yifeng used all of his strength but still got nearby eaten by this ice python. If he had not activated the recovery wind of the nature dagger, he would have died. Thankfully, the ice python had not fully awakened its spirituality yet. The beast tide subsided. The mercenaries and troops of Osborne City also retaliated fiercely. Eventually, they fought their way up to half the mountain of the demon beast forest. But over there were no demon beasts left. Thus, these mercenaries returned empty-handed. In the blacksmith's shop. He had already seen the poor state of the city when he returned. To think that the beast tide would cause such an impact. Among which, Osla clan which lives at the edge of Osborne City suffered huge losses. In order to stop their losses, they threatened Eric, April, and Donjido that they would bring down the city with them. Only then did the 2 advanced knights also join the battlefield. Of course, this matter was none of Yifeng's concern. In the forging room, Yifeng took out his bag that was loaded with loot. He poured out over 40 colorful demon cores. Yifeng picked out a few demon cores that were unusable and placed them at one side. He started the fire of the furnace. Only 1 day was left until he had to hand Eric the 20 Stage 2 weapons. He had to complete the mission today. Regardless of what potential he had, as long as he failed to complete the mission by Eric, it would leave a terrible impression. Swoosh! The flames started to burn intensely as the temperature of the room rose intensely. Soon, a series of hammering sounds could be heard from within the blacksmith shop. Not long after, a Stage 2 product appeared before Yifeng. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging the Stage 2 inferior grade, Earth's Oath. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 Earth Elemental points, 100 Fire Elemental points, and an increase in physical strength. Earth's Oath. Grade, Stage 2 Middle Grade. Attack Power, 970. Durability, 100. Special trait, in combat, there will be a chance of creating an earth wall to obstruct enemies. Tossing the Stage 2 weapon aside, Feng continued to pour materials into the furnace before raising his hammer. Ding ding. Not long ago, another longsword appeared before Feng. Burning longsword. Grade, Stage 2 middle grade. Attack power, 990. Durability, 100. Special trait, in combat, there is a chance to unleash a fire attack that greatly raises the damage. Knight's Flame. Grade, Stage 2 inferior grade. Attack power, 910. Durability, 100. Special trait, in combat, there is a small chance to cause fire damage. Ding! Congratulations for obtaining 50 fire elemental points, and a small increase in attack power. Ding! Congratulations for obtaining Knight's Longsword, Sacred Water Dagger, Deep Soil Heavy Sword, Waterfall Sword, Knight's Heavy Sword. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 fire elemental points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 water elemental points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 earth elemental points. Feng's clothes were wet with perspiration, his entire body was also undergoing a marvelous transformation. As his forging continued to succeed, more and more system messages could be heard. With the final hit of the hammer, a water demon core that did not seem high in quality actually managed to become a Stage 2 superior grade weapon. Water Deity's Secret Order. Grade, Stage 2 superior grade. Attack power, 1000. Durability, 100. Special trait, offensive skill, Water Prison, able to restrain and trap enemies during combat. Ding! Congratulations! Offensive skill, Water Prison, obtained. Congratulations! You have become a superior class intermediate knight. Congratulations! You have become a 2-star magician. Huff! Feng let out a deep breath. He looked at the 20 Stage 2 weapons scattered on his table. He smiled in satisfaction. The mission was completed. Even though he felt very tired now, he was very relaxed mentally. Using the steel boar skin to cover the table, Feng, who was extremely tired and mentally relaxed, went to sleep immediately. Suddenly, Feng felt a sensation of falling. He quickly opened his eyes and saw a beautiful figure wearing a silvery white armor smiling at him while bending down. Avril? When did you return? Seeing the person before him, Feng felt a sense of joy. We just returned. I came to meet you immediately. While she was speaking, Feng held up Avril. I have already forged the 20 Stage 2 weapons. Avril, you don't have to worry about your father obstructing us anymore. Brother Feng, I knew you could do it. While the two of them were tangled together, they heard a soft cough. Cough. Avril, your father is not dead yet. Don't act so presumptuously. Avril quickly got away from Feng. She walked away with a reddened face. Feng patted his head. He thought that Avril had arrived immediately after he fell asleep, but after looking at the clock, he realized that now was already noon of the second day, the time of his agreement with Eric. Eric walked to Feng and sat down. He said calmly, 20 Stage 2 weapons, not one less, otherwise. Clank! Before Eric finished, Feng unveiled the steel boar skin and revealed more than 20 Stage 2 weapons, among which, there were 2 Stage 2 superior grade weapons. What? Eric looked at the weapons in shock. Disbelief was shown all over his face. You forged all these weapons? They are even enchanted with demon cores. Indeed. Feng shrugged, 23 weapons, I even exceeded our agreement. The extra ones will be a gift for you, Sir Eric. Are you satisfied? Satisfied. Very satisfied. Eric's face was flushed red. He knew the potential of this young man now. It was even higher than what Nyzo described. He had simply found a treasure. Chapter 11. Chapter 11, Greater Reputation is Not Good. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. With these 23 Stage 2 weapons, Eric's clan would gain a huge rise in strength. even if Asla and April's clans worked together, Eric would not fear them. Furthermore, Asla clan had lost half their foundation from this beast tide. Now that they had these weapons, in the entire Osborne City, there was no single clan stronger than Eric's one. Even if they had the backing of the city lord. Soon, Eric kept away the 23 Stage 2 weapons and no longer nagged at Avril. He only told her to mind her own image and go home sooner before he left. At the same time, at the other end of Osborne City, April, who had a sinister look, went to find Asla, who was upset and angry. Asla was someone with a fiery temper to begin with. He originally felt disdain towards a sinister person like April, as well as a self-righteous man like Eric. After hearing that April was coming, Asla's face immediately showed intense displeasure. In fact, he did not even go to meet April. He felt that this beast tide had something to do with either April or Eric after all. Even if there was no relationship, April did not come here in peace either. However, April still made his way to Asla's room. "Oh, my goodness, I have never seen you in a more pathetic state, my dear Asla." A tall, thin man with 2 lines of mustache that looked like mouse whiskers walked in, having a smile on his lips. Seeing his sinister state, Asla felt that this crafty person was up to no good. "April, are you here to see us as a joke? If so, please go back. If our Asla clan recovers from this, we will pretend nothing happened. If we are unable to return to our original state, I will not let any of you off. Listen to yourself." "Old friend, what are you talking about? Why does it sound like I was the one who created this beast tide?" April squinted and said, "Look at it objectively. Who benefited the most from this beast tide?" Asla sneered, "I didn't see any benefits. I only know that my losses were the most severe." April patted his head. It was really troublesome to talk to someone without wits. If not for his desire to get rid of Eric, he would not have wanted to cooperate with Asla. But he could only gain benefits by cooperating with Asla now. "My dear Asla, think about your clan's businesses that are near the commoners at the edge of the city. Beyond that are my businesses, and at the center of the city are Eric's businesses. This beast tide came straight towards the city. We are the ones who were the first to bear the brunt. Brother Asla, you have suffered heavy losses, but my losses are not small either." "You mean to say?" Asla was simple-minded, but he was still a superior class advanced knight that managed to raise his clan to this level. He was not purely a fool. He guessed that since April and him were the ones who bore the brunt of this beast tide, the greatest winner was either Eric or the city lord. And the city lord's son Donald seemed to have been heavily injured by a blacksmith kid. He ordered his subordinate to kill that kid, but Eric stopped him. Which meant... Asla frowned, "It's Eric." But April quickly waved his hand. "I didn't say it was Eric. Let's investigate first and not blame the wrong person. There is a stage 3 demon beast in the forest. I heard that it produced an offspring recently. Did someone try to steal the offspring which caused the beast tide to occur? We can send our clan's intermediate knights to go to the demon beast forest and search around for evidence at the middle or top of the mountain." Saying so, April waved his hand as 8 intermediate knights walked into the room. "How is it? Am I sincere enough? You can send a few more people to investigate." "Okay." Asla and April cooperated at once. Sending a group that had inferior class intermediate knights at least, they went off to the demon beast forest. The demon beast forest that no longer had a beast tide was very weak compared to this group. Not long after, they completed their mission and brought back a thin silver sword to Asla. In the entire Osborne City, the only person who could head to the middle of the mountain alone who also owned a thin and long silver sword was Eric. Thud. Asla slammed the table and destroyed it, gritting his teeth in anger. "Eric! Too despicable. He actually used this despicable method to weaken me. I will declare war on you." Seeing this, April's lips curled up into a sinister smile. On the next day, before Osborne City even recovered from the aftermath of the beast tide, alarming news was spread. Asla is declaring war on Eric. As for April and Donjito, they chose to stay at the sidelines and observe this battle without doing anything. But Eric had no fear towards Asla. In the following half a month, Asla and Eric's forces clashed with rising intensity. But Eric had the upper hand all along. The reason was simple. After getting Yifeng's help, Eric assembled a group that carried all of Yifeng's weapons. Their strength grew drastically. They were no longer considered an ordinary group. April and Donjito, who wanted to play some tricks at first, were also deeply shocked by the strength of his force. Those powerful weapons all had magical energy. A medial class intermediate knight was able to unleash the combat strength of a superior class intermediate knight. At the same time, Yifeng's reputation also spread in Osborne City. News that he was the blacksmith who made those weapons had spread. Thus, there was a particularly funny sight in Osborne City. While the two clans were fighting heatedly along the streets, Yifeng's shop was gaining popularity instead. Among these people who came to find Yifeng, be it commoners or rich bosses and merchants, or even the auction houses of Osborne City, they wanted him to forge things for them. Most of them wanted him to make the most common knight's longsword. But making that weapon could not raise his strength. It was as good as being without a reward. This situation gave Yifeng a huge headache. So be it that these commoners wanted the lowest grade knight's longsword, but the Osborne City auction house was even more overbearing. They wanted Yifeng to become their private blacksmith. Undoubtedly, Yifeng would not agree to such an absurd request. He immediately chased them away. He also did not accept the request of anyone else. He did not lack money now, he only needed materials. If anyone used materials to exchange for weapons, it would be a good thing for him. Chapter 12. Chapter 12, Explosive Flame Heavy Sword, Advanced Knight. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. After thinking about it, Yifeng decided to hang a huge signboard outside the blacksmith shop. A maximum of 3 Stage 2 weapons a day. Those who use materials to exchange for them will get priority. Forging Stage 2 weapons would raise Yifeng's strength substantially. Furthermore, he would gain some forging materials as well. He would not need to worry about running out of them. He would even save time by not having to go outside to buy them. After hanging the signboard outside the blacksmith shop, the commotion got smaller, but even so, the blacksmith shop was still getting a huge influx of customers. Of course, there was an exception in Osborne City. Obviously, it was Eric's clan. With Avril around, Yifeng would give Eric's clan the priority if they needed weapons. On this day, Avril appeared in the blacksmith shop. After keeping the Stage 2 weapon that Yifeng prepared for her, she was about to leave when suddenly, Yifeng called out to her. These days, April and Osla's clans, and even the people from the City Lord Manor came to the blacksmith shop frequently. Their goal was obvious. But Yifeng rejected them all. April, Osla, and the City Lord Manor's people are coming constantly these days. I am thinking of selling them Stage 2 weapons. What do you think? Yifeng asked Avril. Avril smiled gently. She looked like a true goddess while wearing the sacred and pure white armor. She replied, I'll agree with anything you do. Okay, then I will sell them Stage 2 weapons too. Even though Yifeng decided to sell weapons to Osla, April, and the City Lord Manor's people, he was not going to sell them these weapons so simply. Right now, he had already learned the forging techniques to make Stage 3 weapons. It was just that the success rate was still low. Once the success rate rises, he would be able to make a batch of Stage 3 weapons for Eric. By then, would they be afraid of Osla and April's Stage 2 weapons? Not long after, Yifeng sent Avril away and returned to his blacksmith shop again. At the same time, he waved his hand at the person from Osborne City auction house who was waiting outside. The person walked over with a stern expression. He slammed a piece of paper on the table, listing the names of various Stage 2 weapons. Evidently, he was unhappy that Yifeng only bothered to talk to Avril earlier and ignored him. We will send the blueprints and materials over later. Please wait for them. But I need to say something. Osborne City Auction House is your largest client. Don't fail to meet the deadline of the order because of your relationship with the girl. Yifeng snorted coldly. My blacksmith shop is the only place that can mass-produce Stage 2 weapons in Osborne City. I hope you won't interfere with my rules. I don't know if your words can represent the auction house, but if you can, help me tell them that if they try to bend the rules of my blacksmith shop, our contract will be terminated. The person from Osborne City Auction House was stunned. this was the first time he had seen a person so disrespectful to the auction house. After all, in the entire Osborne City, regardless of which force it was, even the city lord would pay them respect. This Osborne City auction house was opened here by the orders of Aiden's City. I will report this to them. The man nodded in a dark expression, turning around and leaving. I won't send you off. Feng did not even look at the person. After the person from the auction house left, April, Osborne City, and the city lord's people came to the blacksmith shop. I am the subordinate of City Lord Donjito, Donald. I am the subordinate of Osla, Walter. I am the subordinate of April, Dewey. Feng raised his head lazily and glanced at them before saying, Go back and report to your masters that I will sell the Stage 2 weapons but at the price of double the materials, understood? Donald and Walter's expressions turned bitter. This blacksmith was really hard to talk to. Donald said, I need to discuss this with the city lord. As a subordinate, I cannot decide. If you can't decide, then scram. Come here after you're done discussing, but if my mood is bad tomorrow, I might change my mind again. Feng replied snappily. Since they were enemies anyway, he did not care about maintaining their relationship whatsoever. Donald and Walter left in a disheartened manner. Dewey was just about to rejoice thinking that the blacksmith shop was going to work with him. He was about to speak when suddenly, Feng interrupted him mercilessly. Why are you still here? I can't even remember your name anymore, but similarly, I want double the materials from you too. Dewey also left in a disheartened manner. Seeing this, Feng revealed a smile and turned around to return to his forging furnace. Soon, clanking noises could be heard again. There were many orders left from the auction house. He was going to use these materials to try and forge a Stage 3 weapon. Last time, when he gained the purple obsidian, the system rewarded him the lightning formation. With his previous success of forging a Stage 3 weapon, he felt that he should use powerful techniques to balance the quality of his forging. He immediately took action, using the Stage 3 fire magic crystal to forge the mold. Clank! There was a continuous stream of brittle sounds transmitted throughout the blacksmith shop, with Feng's head covered in sweat. The incomplete heavy sword had taken form. It was just missing the last step, enchanted with the Stage 3 magic crystal. Feng's left hand deployed the lightning formation and condensed the fire magic crystal into an energy lump before putting it into the mold. Suddenly, the flame sword, the powerful fire attribute, made the furnace fire run out of control. It was just on the verge of failure. Feng hurriedly pressed the lightning formation into the mold. The rising flames slowly extinguished. Only then, a fiery red weapon appeared before Feng's eyes. Ding! Successfully forged, explosive flame heavy sword. Ding! Congratulations for obtaining 150 fire elemental points, and an increase in physical strength. Ding! Congratulations to the host for becoming an inferior class advanced knight. Ding! Congratulations to the host for becoming a 3-star magician. Explosive flame heavy sword. Grade, Stage 3 middle grade. Attack power, 1450. Durability, 110. Special trait, offensive skill, flaming meteor. In combat, there is a chance of releasing a huge flaming meteor to attack the enemy. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining offensive skill, flaming meteor. After a series of system notifications, Feng's smile became wider on his face. Advanced Knight. 3-star magician. Either of them would allow him to become a huge and influential person in the entire Osborne City. But now, Feng was not going to stay in just this tiny Osborne City. Compared to the entire continent, Osborne City was just a tiny insignificant city. He did not have strength in the past, but now was different. He wanted to be stronger. He wanted to leave Osborne City. After making up his mind, Feng made a decision internally. But it would all be decided after the situation in Osborne City was resolved. Furthermore, he needed to make arrangements for Avril. Coming back to reality, Feng looked at the explosive flame heavy sword. After holding up this explosive flame heavy sword, Feng's smile became increasingly wide. Chapter 13. Chapter 13, Absolute Intent to Kill. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Feng willed as a surge of flames appeared on the explosive flame-heavy sword in his hand, causing the temperature in the room to instantly double. Just as Feng wanted to put down the explosive flame-heavy sword to continue his forging, a daring idea emerged in his mind. Feng immediately put it into action as he brought the explosive flame-heavy sword to the courtyard. With a thought, fire element was released rapidly through the explosive flame-heavy sword. A wave of flames shot out while containing traces of sword energy. The fusion of magic and strength? Seeing this, Feng fell into exhilaration. After the amplification of the heavy sword, not only did the magical element increase in power, it could even fuse with his physical strength. After a long while, Feng finally calmed down internally as he kept away the explosive flame-heavy sword, continuing his forging. Arriving at the furnace, Feng took out the wild bull skin and the Stage 3 ice demon core. He wanted to make a defensive equipment for Avril so that her safety could be more secured. Ding! Detecting Stage 3 ice demon core and Stage 2 wild bull skin, reward will be the forging blueprint of extreme cold leather armor. Extreme cold leather armor. Grade, Stage 3 inferior grade. A defensive equipment forging blueprint. This was out of Feng's expectations. But this was even better, because it was a Stage 3 defensive equipment. If he forged it, the defensive power would be very impressive. There was no need to wait. Feng turned up the temperature of the furnace to the highest and took out the defensive equipment mold that Nyzo had barely used and placed it above the flame. When the mold was burned red by the flame, Feng followed the instructions of the blueprint and put the wild bull skin on top of the mold to melt into a liquid state, and then used the iron steaming method to reduce the release of the flame and reshape the liquid leather with the heat of the flame. Meanwhile, the Stage 3 ice demon core was in Feng's hand. He used the furnace to reshape the wild bull skin while using fire magic to burn the Stage 3 ice demon core. This ice attribute was the opposite of fire attribute. If both attributes were of the same level, then the flames would be helpless against the ice, but Feng was a 3-star magician now. His most formidable aspect was fire magic. Under the burning of the magic flame, the Stage 3 ice demon core started to turn into a lump of energy gas inside the flame, desperately trying to escape by charging out of the flame. Seeing the ice energy with such liveliness, Feng laughed happily. Want to escape? Be obedient and stay here. At the same time, the wild bull skin inside the defensive equipment mold was slowly taking shape. Feng used the lightning formation on the defensive equipment. He wanted to fix the ice energy into the wild bull skin at one go. Under the effect of the iron steaming method in the furnace, the wild bull skin started to close up while the ice energy was forced to enter the defensive equipment by the magic flame. As they were about to fuse together, Feng could feel that this defensive equipment's grade would definitely be no less than Stage 3 middle grade. But right at this time, his hair stood on ends as he subconsciously twisted his body. A wave of white sword energy landed on the iron furnace while brushing past his scalp. Thud! The flames of the furnace was extinguished. The wild bull skin and ice energy that had yet to fuse together became still and lifeless immediately. Damn it, again! After a momentary daze, Feng felt intense anger rising in his heart. Once. Twice. Thrice. These people always had to interrupt him when he was doing important things. Killing intent rose in Feng's heart. His pupils turned blood red. Feng turned around and saw a man wearing a mask covering his face. He held a knight's heavy sword and looked at Feng provokingly. What a pity, you managed to dodge my fatal attack, but you are not going to be so lucky now. Feng did not speak. The killing intent in his eyes was enough to prove his intention. That person did not pay him any attention. His gaze was attracted to the explosive flame-heavy sword at the side. A trace of greed appeared on his face. What a good weapon. I didn't waste my time after all. Not only am I earning a sum, I can even take such a good heavy sword. I have no choice but to accept it. Saying so, the person raised the heavy sword and slashed down at Feng's head from an imposing angle. Seeing this, Feng quickly dodged the heavy sword in the enemy's hand while landing his fist directly on the enemy's body with great force. Bam! Right now, Yi Feng was in advanced night. The person was not his match at all. He was sent flying out of the forging room with one punch. Before he landed, he could feel a heated sensation as his chest started to hurt. He spit out a mouthful of blood and landed on the street outside of the blacksmith shop. Yi Feng did not give him a chance to rest. He willed as a fireball appeared out of nowhere, flying towards the assailant rapidly while emitting loud whooshing sounds of the wind. It was a complete domination. But Yi Feng did not deal the killing blow. He left the person alive. Arriving before him, Yi Feng had a cold expression. A fireball floated above his right hand. It could land on him at any time. Seeing this, the person was filled with terror. He subconsciously crawled backwards. Don't move, otherwise I will kill you now. Answer my question. If you can satisfy me, I may spare your life. You, just what level are you? Ah. That person looked at Yi Feng in terror. He could not help but ask. But before he finished his question, Yi Feng used fire magic to directly pierce and burn his leg. Yi Feng said expressionlessly in a calm tone, "My questions, your answer. If you spout any more nonsense, my fireball will land on your head next." Saying so, the fireball in Yi Feng's hand grew slightly. It emitted a threatening aura. "Who sent you here?" "I can't say it. I took their money. I will be breaking the rules of, His arm was burned as well. "Who sent you here?" "Next time, I will aim at your skull." I'll tell you. Donald spent 30,000 gold coins to send me to take your life. Please spare, ugh. Yi Feng breathed in deeply. The killing intent got even denser in his eyes. "I am very dissatisfied with your answer, so you have lost your chance to live." Saying so, the fireball descended and devoured the person entirely as he burst into flames. "Donald, since you want to die so badly, I will grant you that wish." Next, Yi Feng looked towards the city lord manor, making up his mind. Yi Feng was not someone who would endure this endlessly. So be it if it were normal times, but both attacks happened when he was forging. And this time, Yi Feng was making a defensive equipment for Avril. How could he possibly suppress his rage now? This time, even if the city lord manor was incredibly dangerous, Yi Feng had to make a trip tonight. Chapter 14. Chapter 14, Shocked Eric. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Under the flames, the assailant was burned to ashes. Yi Feng did not care about it. After calming himself, his gaze returned to the forging furnace, as well as the two lumps of energy that seemed to have lost all life, as he continued his forging. This was a defensive equipment for Avril. Even if it failed, he had to try and salvage it. Time passed slowly. In the forging furnace, flames surged as heat intensified. The ice energy that had gone motionless was forced to approach the wild bull skin again. "I'm about to succeed." Yi Feng was very happy. Bam! But right when this precious Stage 3 defensive equipment was about to take shape, there was a loud explosive sound as the forging furnace went silent again. The final step could not be completed after all. It was as if there was some invisible barrier between the ice energy and the bull skin. What is going on? Is it because I could not complete the step at one go earlier due to the assassination which caused the process to fail, so even if I try again, it cannot succeed anymore? Yi Feng was unwilling to give up. He heated the furnace again and stretched out his palm. Fire energy gathered as he put up a struggle again. But without any surprise, he failed again. 2 forging failures in a row. This was the first time it had happened since he obtained the system. Yi Feng felt very dejected and even emotionally unbalanced. This damned Donald, if he did not send an assassin at me, the defensive equipment for Avril would have been completed already. Stage 3 middle grade equipment. Osborne City does not even have a single one. Yi Feng cursed out loud in anger. Next, his mood slowly returned to normal as Yi Feng picked up the Stage 3 weapon stabbed on the floor, the explosive flame-heavy sword. Yi Feng left the blacksmith shop, carrying this heavy sword covered in burning flames as he went to Eric's clan. Stage 3 weapons were quite rare in Osborne City. But for Yi Feng, as long as the materials were sufficient, he could make as many as he wanted. This explosive flame-heavy sword was a good gift to his future father-in-law Eric. It could make Avril happy too. At the same time, Donald sent someone to kill him multiple times. Feng was worried that Donald might lose his mind and attack everyone around him as well. His own safety was not much of a concern. Nyzo had also left the blacksmith shop. Only Eric's clan and Avril were left. This stage 3 weapon, explosive flame-heavy sword, can pretty much triple the strength of an advanced knight. Even if anything happens, without 4 advanced knights or more, nobody can easily take down Eric, who was holding onto the explosive flame-heavy sword. Feng thought as he moved quickly ahead, arriving at Eric's estate. In Eric's estate. In the large hall, Eric listened to the information brought by his subordinate. His expression was turning ugly and also slightly incredulous. Is this real? That old city lord is gathering the strength of April's clan. With this cooperation, I wonder what they're trying to do? Eric sensed some danger. 2 of the 3 advanced knights in Osborne City were gathering together for some reason. How could Eric not be worried now? Even during the Demon Beast Forest's beast tide, I did not see them creating such a commotion. What are they trying to do? Eric walked around the room anxiously. He felt uneasy. He could faintly sense some danger. If 2 great advanced knights wanted to join up to deal with him, it was likely that he could not beat them. But right at this time, Feng walked into the hall. Eric's anxious expression also soothed a little after seeing Feng's arrival. This was a son-in-law that he was rather satisfied with. He had forging talent. His cultivation was also impressive. As long as he went to the larger cities to train, he could become an advanced knight like himself after some time. Why are you here, lad? Eric forcefully concealed the worry in his eyes as he went back to his usual demeanor. He smiled and questioned Feng jokingly. Feng put down the explosive flame-heavy sword in his hand and stabbed it on the ground. Sparks flew everywhere and he said mysteriously, "I'm here with a gift for you." Once he saw the explosive flame-heavy sword, Eric became stunned. His breathing soon became rough as he flew towards Feng and grabbed the sword. This knight's heavy sword. Gasp! Where did you get it? It has such a high grade. It is at least pseudo-stage 3 or even at the level of stage 3. The last time a stage 3 weapon appeared in Osborne City Lord was 2 years ago during an auction. That mongrel from the City Lord Manor spent a lot of money to get it. Holding the explosive flame-heavy sword, Eric seemed to like it a lot. He did not even show any signs of returning it to Feng. But what he did not know was, this explosive flame-heavy sword was a gift from Feng to begin with. It was not a pseudo-stage 3 weapon, it was a genuine stage 3 weapon. It had high quality in fact. In Osborne City, there were many elementary and intermediate knights, but there were only 3 advanced knights including Eric. Weapons were the same in Osborne City. Stage 1 weapons were common, they were not precious. Stage 2 weapons were valuable, the top-tier Stage 2 weapons were treasures. And in Osborne City, Stage 3 weapons were even rarer than advanced knights. Not many had ever appeared even in history. Thus, even with the explosive flame-heavy sword's amazing appearance, Eric did not dare to imagine that this knight's heavy sword was a Stage 3 weapon. Pseudo-Stage 3 weapon? Feng was a little amused, but he did not dare to expose him. He smiled at Eric and signaled to him to use the sword. Eric loved this sword immensely. He naturally followed the signal and mustered his strength before waving this explosive flame-heavy sword around with great force. Bam! As the heavy sword swung, flames surged. There was a black charred mark on the ground, left by this heavy sword. This power far exceeded the output of an average advanced knight. Eric had a shocked expression. He looked at the explosive flame-heavy sword in disbelief. This is a Stage 3 weapon? Oh heaven! Oh great deity of forging, it is actually a Stage 3 weapon. To think that in Osborne City, I can actually hold a Stage 3 weapon in my hands. Right now, Eric, who was holding the explosive flame-heavy sword in his hand, could fight 3 of his former self. I just forged it earlier, it is yours now. Feng smiled and said. Eric was originally shocked to begin with. Now that he regained some clarity, he listened to Yi Feng's words and became overwhelmed with joy. This stage 3 weapon is really a gift for me? After that, Eric reacted once again and stared with wide eyes as he shouted in a voice that was much sharper than normal. Wait! What did you say? Chapter 15. Chapter 15, Assault of the Three Forces. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. In the afternoon. In Osborne City, in a secluded area. Oslet and April, the two great advanced knights, gathered together once again, discussing the matter of dealing with Eric. At the same time, they casted their greedy gazes towards the newly emerged Stage 2 blacksmith in Osborne City, Feng. A Stage 2 blacksmith. Not long ago, the combined force of our men clashed with Eric's forces, but we did not manage to gain an advantage over him. It is all because of that lad. 20 Stage 2 weapons, it is simply unthinkable that he created them all by himself. How did he accomplish that? April and Asla had cold expressions. But beyond the cold expression, there was even more greed. I have an idea. This lad is relying on Eric, one of the 3 advanced knights, to back him up. After we kill Eric and hold Avril hostage, wouldn't that Feng be at our beck and call? Saying so, Asla started to laugh smugly. Stage 2 weapons were not low-level weapons anymore. If they could be mass-produced, Feng could be forced to work day and night. If they sold those weapons to mercenaries or used them to equip their 2 forces, it would be a huge amount of wealth. April's gaze also flickered for a moment. The two reached a consensus. Outside the house, there was the advanced knight that the city lord of Osborne City, Nyzo, hired to support them. With 3 advanced knights, they could definitely kill Eric. Let's move. The two left the house. Today, the 4 strongest forces of Osborne City gathered their strength and collided intensely. Everyone, charge with me. As long as we can kill Eric and take down his clan, you can choose and take any of the treasures that they have. Come with me, charge. Asla brought his subordinates along as they broke the door of Eric's clan and advanced towards their core area. This assault was coordinated with April and the advanced knight from the city lord manor. He, Asla, was here to lead the attack and try to lure Eric out. After Eric appears, April, who will be hiding behind, as well as the advanced knight from the city lord manor, would appear and work together to kill him. Without his support, without an advanced knight, Eric's clan would be meat on the chopping block. But Eric's clan was prepared for this clash long ago. One by one, intermediate knights came out and fought. The scene was extremely chaotic. Why has Eric not appeared yet? Outside of Eric's clan's territory, behind Asla's forces, April and the others from the city lord manor who were hiding and waiting to attack, felt a little anxious. 3 advanced knights against 1 advanced knight, each of them knew many details regarding each other. This was simply too easy of a battle. If Eric did not appear, everything in his clan would be looted and taken by Asla's men. By then, what gains would they have? In this clash of the 4 forces, there were 4 advanced knights involved, as well as tens of intermediate knights. This commotion was not small at all. Feng, on the way back to the blacksmith shop, suddenly turned around and hid at the peripheral area of this battle. There, he stared deeply at the 2 figures who were hiding in the shadows. They were April and the advanced knight of the city lord manor. Together with Asla, they have a total of 3 advanced knights trying to kill Eric? The city lord is bent on getting rid of Eric. But Feng was not too worried. Even though there were 3 advanced knights here, Eric and himself were sufficient to deal with the situation. Eric, you old fool, I've found you. Hurry up and get out. In Eric's clan, Asla's excited voice could suddenly be heard. Next, one could sense the fluctuations as he activated the advanced knight strength that he had to the limit. Bam! A figure flew out with a sound. Next, as if it was a huge flaming meteor, the figure moved rapidly and descended from midair, landing on Asla's body fiercely. Asla was like a kite with its strings cut. He flew outside of Eric's clan's territory, shouting pitifully under the attack of this flaming meteor. The battle that only lasted for an instant ended in his defeat. Furthermore, Asla also suffered considerable injuries. As the attacking advanced knight, the fact that he ended up like this in an instant made Asla's subordinates feel fearful as they quickly ran out of Eric's clan area like they were escaping frantically. "You want to fight against me?" Eric laughed in disdain as he carried the explosive flame heavy sword and looked down at Asla, who was lying down on the ground. Half his arm was charred because of the flaming meteor attack. "Stage 3 weapon? Where did you get that? Your clan cannot possibly possess it. Even in the entire Osborne City, there are no Stage 3 weapons." Asla stared fiercely at the explosive flame heavy sword in Eric's hands. This was a Stage 3 middle-grade weapon. Once it appeared, it changed the entire battle situation. Ordinary advanced knights were no longer a match for Eric. They needed at least 2 advanced knights to contest against Eric. If they wanted to suppress him, they might need a total of 4 advanced knights to barely succeed. Far away, April and the advanced knight from the City Lord Manor who were hiding also noticed this Stage 3 middle-grade weapon, explosive flame heavy sword. Their scalp turned numb. "Damn it! Why does Eric have a Stage 3 weapon?" April was almost about to jump from shock. If not for the City Lord's people here, if he was not afraid of offending the City Lord, he might have turned around and ran already. With the Stage 3 weapon, with the Asla currently injured, even if he became 2 people, he was not Eric's match. "What are you afraid of? Let's attack together." He used the secret skill in the heavy sword which contains the power of fire. It has been used up for the time being. We need to kill him during this period of time. Quick! Attack! The advanced knight from the City Lord Manor stared at April with a cold expression. He pressured April into attacking with him. April stared at the dim explosive flame heavy sword. He showed an expression of ruthlessness and greed. He said in a fierce tone, "Everyone! Charge! Leave Eric to us." Saying so, April and the advanced knight from the City Lord Manor charged into the battlefield and went straight for Eric. Asla was screaming smugly, "Eric! To have the combined attack of 3 advanced knights, you must be the first person in Osborne City's history." The power of fire contained in the explosive flame heavy sword had been used up earlier when attacking Asla and instantly defeating him. Right now, against 3 advanced knights, cold sweat emerged on Eric's forehead as he held the explosive flame heavy sword in his hand, feeling a little regretful and anxious in his heart. Had I known that the City Lord Manor has an advanced knight, I would not have used up the power of fire within this heavy sword. Now, the situation has gotten a little problematic. Eric had gotten into a predicament. Chapter 16. Chapter 16, The Magician That Needs No Chanting. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. The battle continued. One by one, intermediate knights from Eric's clan fell. As April and the City Lord Manor's people joined in, Eric's clan got into an increasingly dangerous situation. Eric watched this happen as he felt extremely anxious internally. He shouted, "Come at me if you are strong. Are you cowards? Why are you attacking the weaker juniors using an advantage in numbers?" With 3 of Osborne City's forces gathered here to attack Eric's clan, the current situation was that on average, 3 intermediate knights were attacking 1 intermediate knight from Eric's clan. If this continued, Eric's clan's foundation was doomed. As long as we win. April looked at Eric as he said sinisterly. Bam! The battle erupted. Asla, April, and the silver-armored advanced knight attacked at the same time from 3 directions, charging towards Eric. Eric was screaming loudly in anger. He continued to wave his explosive flame heavy sword around, forcing the 3 knights back, preventing them from gaining an edge over him. But that was all he could do. At the other side of the battlefield, Eric's juniors and his loyal guards were still bleeding and dying as time passed. "Oh God! Please save our clan!" Eric cried out loud in anger and grief. Bam! But right at this time, there was searing fire that gathered into a ball. It was full of explosive flame marks, whistling from the distant shadows, blasting towards the 3 advanced knights present. Who? Which coward dares to interfere in this matter? Wait! This is magic formed from fire elements, is it fireball? This person who attacked must be a 2-star magician at least. Asla and April, as well as the silver-armored advanced knight from the City Lord Manor, were all pale with shock. In Osborne City, there were many intermediate knights and even several advanced knights. But in terms of magicians, throughout Osborne City, there were no such existences, even the common 1-star magician that was comparable to elementary knights. Right when the 3 advanced knights were pale and shocked, Eric waved his explosive flame-heavy sword around, attacking Asla fiercely and relentlessly. As long as 1 advanced knight died, the remaining 2 advanced knights would be much easier to deal with. His clansmen and subordinates would also have a chance of survival. Die! Eric shouted. Asla reacted very quickly. He jumped up with a beautiful arc, dodging this slashing attack of the explosive flame-heavy sword. Oh, heavy swords! They are just too bulky in combat. Asla laughed and mocked Eric loudly. But right at this time, the fireball that was covered in explosive markings made a turn in midair, shooting towards Asla instead. Asla sensed this as well. He looked at this fireball disdainfully, raising his stage 2 peak knight's sword to slash at it. The fireball of a mere 2-star magician. How can it possibly attempt to kill an advanced knight who is on the level of a 3-star magician? This is too much of a joke. Asla laughed mockingly. He did not even think much of this fireball. Not just him. The other 2 advanced knights thought the same. They were only shocked that a precious 2-star magician would appear in Osborne City. They were not shocked by his battle strength. Bam! The fireball exploded. The stage 2 peak knight's sword instantly melted. The exploded flames soon spread towards Asla's body. He erupted with an unprecedented scream and cry. Save me! So hot! So painful! I am dying of pain. In the blink of an eye, Asla was reduced to a pile of ashes. Asla died? How can this be? He actually died from an ordinary magic of a 2-star magician, a mere fireball. No, this is not fireball, this is the 3-star magic, explosive fireball. The 2 remaining advanced knights took in a sharp breath. An advanced knight had actually turned into ashes instantly. Such strength could only be possible if the enemy was a 3-star magician. Right at this time, a long sigh could be heard. From the spot where the fireball shot out, a young figure slowly walked out. Why do you guys always like to seek death? Feng sighed. Fire elements gathered. Waving his hand, one after another, fireballs with explosive markings around them appeared before everyone's eyes. The entire scene was silent. April looked at Feng in disbelief. All of the intermediate and elementary knights did the same. Finally, after a while, an intermediate knight stammered and asked, "Don't magic of 3 stars and above require chanting of the incantation? Why does he not need to chant?" April's expression was rather grim. He did not expect that this 3-star magician who attacked and instantly killed Asla would be Feng. In his eyes, Feng was a tiny ant who would be completely defenseless without Eric. Scoundrel! Feel the rage of a knight! April shouted in anger. Bam! He held the knight's sword in his hand as he moved rapidly, dodging the numerous explosive fireballs that were shooting out, charging straight for Feng. In his mind, Feng's threat level was far higher than Eric's. He was so young but was actually so talented. In the future, when he matures fully, what will happen? Thus, they had no choice but to kill him today at all cost. At the same time, April shot a mocking expression on his face. How can a magician without any knight protecting them be called a magician? As long as I can get close, even an intermediate knight can kill a 3-star magician in an instant. April laughed coldly to himself. At this time, he had already arrived by Feng's side. He held the knight's long sword and stabbed towards Feng's throat like a venomous snake. And right at this time, the silent Feng spoke again after a long while. My apologies. I am also an advanced knight. Saying so, Yi Feng threw out a punch, directly aiming for April. Bam! Caught unguarded and without any precaution, April was hit on the chest by this punch. He flew back uncontrollably. Advanced Knight? The silver-armored Advanced Knight also wanted to charge and mimic April in dodging the explosive fireballs, but now, he did not dare to move. 3-star Magician, Advanced Knight. He had seen many of them in his city. But someone who was simultaneously a 3-star Magician and an Advanced Knight, while also being so young, was incredibly rare in the upper city. This kid is likely a genius in both magic and knight training. This is just a mission I accepted. There is no need to offend such a genius just because of Osborne City Lord and some gold coins. The silver-armored knight smiled bitterly and did not speak further. He looked at Yi Feng before turning around and leaving. April also escaped. You all deserve to die. Eric was like a raging lion. He held the explosive flame-heavy sword and casted his gaze at the subordinates of the three forces. This battle that targeted Eric ended up with the loss of the three forces due to Yi Feng's intervention. At the same time, for some reason, rumors that Yi Feng was a genius at forging weapons also started to spread beyond Osborne City. Chapter 17. Chapter 17, Osborne City's New Lord. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. On the second day, the upper city of Osborne City, Aiden City's City Lord Manor, sent someone here who knocked on the door of the blacksmith shop. Inside the blacksmith shop, Yi Feng, who was forging weapons, looked at this guest who had been knocking for a long time with displeasure. Yi Feng said with a cold expression, "You have to obey the rules if you want me to forge weapons. Right now, I have not opened my shop for the day yet." Halfway through, Yi Feng could not speak anymore. A silver diamond the size of a dove's egg and a box of golden ores that seemed like flowing water that was gathered together without scattering, appeared in front of his eyes. Magic Silver Diamond. Grade, Stage 3 Superior Grade. Special trait, the dove's egg-sized silver diamond can be fused into the forged weapon to greatly increase the weapon's resistance towards magic attacks. Flowing Water Golden Sand. Grade, Stage 3 Superior Grade. Special trait, this material flows like water and turns solid immediately if it comes into contact with fire, becoming extremely firm and indestructible. After being forged into a weapon, it will greatly raise durability and become hard to destroy. I was sent by Aiden City Lord. My name is Bailey. You may address me as Lord Bai. The visitor looked arrogant, as if it was a great honor for Yi Feng to be able to speak with him. His head was raised high, almost as if he was looking down at Yi Feng. If not for these two precious ores, Yi Feng would have thrown him out already. What are you doing here? What do you want? Yi Feng asked. From start to end, he did not even look at Bailey. His gaze was fixed on the flowing water golden sand and magic silver diamond. Stage 3 Superior Grade Materials. Anti-magic weapon. He had not refined it before. We would like you to use these two materials and make anti-magic weapons. If you succeed, you will gain the friendship of Aiden City Lord. You will also gain an unimaginable reward. Bailey said mysteriously. Regarding this, Yi Feng did not pay much attention to him. He carried the silver diamond and golden sand and brought Bailey into the forging furnace of the blacksmith shop. Before the forging furnace, blazing flames were burning intensely. Yi Feng started to forge with much proficiency. Such anti-magic weapons were very easy to make. He did not even need any blueprint or formation markings. He only had to make the flowing water golden sand take shape and perfectly fuse with the magic silver diamond. Yi Feng could tell that Bailey was testing him. But he did not mind it. He was only concerned about forging the weapon. Even if he has some ability, the most important and hardest thing about forging an anti-magic weapon is to fuse the silver diamond and weapon together. Can he accomplish that? Bailey commented internally. Right now, in the forging furnace, the flowing water golden sand had already formed into the shape of a weapon. Yi Feng carefully placed the silver diamond into the forging furnace as well. You want to gain the favor of Aiden City Lord, dream on. At the top of the blacksmith shop, a figure jumped down like an eagle hunting its prey. slashing the longsword towards Yifeng with great force. Yifeng frowned. Looking at the weapon that was still in the forging furnace, he freed one hand to block the black-clothed assailant's attack. But who could have thought that the target was not Yifeng at all? It was his forging furnace. The attacker turned around and crashed into the forging furnace. The attacker died. Black smoke also started to rise up from the forging furnace. The silver diamond was destroyed. Bailey was stunned. He pointed his shaking fingers at Yifeng angrily. His eyes were full of intense rage and anger. He screamed at the top of his lungs. As a blacksmith, why did you not protect the forging furnace? Damn it, that is a silver diamond. You did not even show any concern towards the weapon you were forging like it was your life. What kind of blacksmith are you? You are not fit to join Aiden City's City Lord Manor. Bailey left in rage. Towards this, Yifeng frowned, looking at the assassin on the ground and Bailey who left. He also turned to look at the two materials that were ruined in the forging furnace. He only expressed his disappointment and pity towards the failed attempt to forge the weapon. Like this, Osborne City became silent for a few days before shocking news spread again towards the surroundings, stunning all of the knights in Osborne City. Donald, the son of Osborne City Lord, had been killed. Furthermore, Osborne City Lord was also changed to another person. The new City Lord was called Militan. He had already taken over the position of Osborne City Lord. Donald died? The City Lord was replaced? Within the blacksmith shop, Yifeng heard this news and came slightly stunned, but he soon recovered from the initial shock. This had a huge impact on him. In the future, he could finally have some peace and quiet. Nobody would come and find trouble with him anymore. I still need to continue with life and forge more weapons. Yifeng got up and wanted to return to the forging furnace and try to see if the silver diamond and golden sand could still be used for a second time. At this time, the door of the blacksmith shop was knocked. Outside, an elegant-looking horse carriage was parked. A man who had a kind expression and smile but also had a polite and revering attitude walked out. There were two intermediate knights walking beside him as guards on his left and right, chasing away onlookers. It was evident that he had significant status. I am Militan. The man smiled and said. He was a great city lord, the ruler of Osborne City. He had the biggest force on the surface, but right now, he was acting very politely towards Yifeng. Today is your first day as the city lord, right? You came here specially to meet a blacksmith like me? Yifeng was quite surprised. A few days ago, there was someone from Aiden City. Today, the new city lord came here to meet him on the first day. Since when did he have such a great reputation? Please take a look at the orders. 100 stage 2 weapons. Our city lord manor will provide the materials. We will also pay you with 30% more of the market rate. What do you think? Militan said respectfully. This was a huge order. They wanted 100 stage 2 weapons at once. They even provided the materials and the price was 30% more than the market rate of hiring a blacksmith. Even though Yifeng only cared about forging, he was still shocked by this huge order. I've already gone to find Eric. That explosive flame heavy sword, a stage 3 middle grade weapon, is actually a prized work of yours. From today onwards, as long as I remain as the city lord of Osborne City, all of those remaining forces of the former city lord, April's clan, and Osla's clan will not be able to create trouble. Furthermore, all of Osla's businesses in Osborne City can be given to Eric. He showed his attitude, along with some promises for Eric. This was a two-pronged approach. Yifeng could gain a substantial benefit from forging so many weapons as well. It could raise his proficiency too. There was no reason to reject it. Alright. Come collect the goods in a few days. In terms of stage 2 weapons, my failure rate is about 0 now. I can make them all in a few days. Yifeng said plainly. He did not change his tone or mannerism to suck up to him just because this was the Osborne City Lord. Hearing that, Militan's eyes turned wide, his face was covered in shock. O great deity of forging, you have already reached a level where your stage 2 weapon forging has a near 0 chance of failure. Oh my goodness! Are you a master blacksmith already? Chapter 18. Chapter 18, Improvement in Forging Skill. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. The new Osborne City Lord Militant requested for 100 Stage 2 weapons. In just 2 days, Feng completed the task of forging them all. One Stage 2 weapon, normally speaking, would provide Feng with 100 fire elemental points, but soon after, he seemed to reach a bottleneck. When forging Stage 2 weapons, he no longer gained much elemental points. It must be because I am now an advanced knight and a 3-star magician. In the blacksmith shop, Feng was still busy working at the forging furnace. Yesterday, when Militant's subordinates came to collect the goods, they paid the service fee and put another huge order again. This was an even larger order. They wanted Stage 3 weapons. 20 portions of materials to make Stage 3 weapons, as well as their necessary formation charts. The price is still the same at 30% higher than the average market rate. This new city lord does not have a simple background at all. This quantity of weapons is too much for the average person. Before the forging furnace, Feng sighed and did not think too much of it. He immediately got to forging them. This was not the first time Feng was forging Stage 3 weapons. In fact, he was quite familiar with them. Bam! Within the forging furnace, flames surged and blazed. The entire blacksmith shop was extremely hot from the heat emitted. It was almost comparable to Feng's fire magic already. Feng gazed towards the box at the corner. Information of the Stage 3 material that Militant provided him was shown before his eyes. Star Cloud Rock. Grade, Stage 3 Superior Grade. Special trait, clear and transparent like a crystal with star cloud patterns inside. After forging into a weapon, will greatly increase the strength of an advanced knight. Sharpness also increases by 30%. In addition, Feng had the Star Meteorite Sword, blueprint and the Sharp Metal Formation chart brought by Militant's subordinates. As the fire was lit in the forging furnace, smoke started rising. Star cloud rocks were placed inside one by one. They soon turned bright red as Feng tried to use fire magic on the forging furnace to raise the temperature of the star cloud rocks even more. Suddenly, shining lights of dazzling colors appeared in the forging furnace. 20 star cloud rocks, at this instant, reached their limits and started to melt. They contained terrifying power inside them. Feng waved his hammer around and continued to hit the star cloud rocks. Formation markings were also completely carved at this time. Inside the forging furnace, there were 20 star cloud rocks being forged at once. The amount of mental energy it took was something that the average Stage 3 blacksmith could not do. Only Feng, with his proficiency level, could do it to this extent. Bam! With the final hit of the hammer, the first Star Meteorite Sword was completed. The Sharp Metal Formation was also carved onto it. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging the Stage 3 Superior Grade, Star Meteorite Sword. You have obtained 1000 Fire Elemental Points, and Power of Blazing Flames +1. Bam! 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 The hammer continued to hit. As Star Meteorite Swords were made one by one, the sharp metal formation carved on them also became more and more vivid, exposing an extremely sharp aura. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging the Stage 3 Superior Grade, Star Meteorite Sword. You have obtained 900 Fire Elemental Points, and Power of Blazing Flames +1. 900 Fire Elemental Points, and Power of Blazing Flames +1. 800 Fire Elemental Points, and Power of Blazing Flames +1. Fire Elemental. System notifications resounded continuously. Feng could feel a continuous surge of power that entered his body. His strength was greater now. He was originally an inferior class advanced knight. Now, he was finally at superior class level. By making the same weapon over and over again, the fire elemental points I gain will fall over time. But what is this power of blazing flames? Feng felt a little curious. He held one of the star meteorite swords that he forged and used the strength of an advanced knight to slash fiercely. Bam! The tiles of the blacksmith shop easily broke into pieces like tofu. After adding in the sharp metal formation, this star meteorite sword's sharpness was close to being unparalleled among similarly graded weapons. Ordinary Stage 3 inferior grade weapons would be cut into two after a few collisions with the star meteorite sword. After putting down the star meteorite sword, Feng tried to use his fist to attack the tile on the floor. He actually felt a sensation like he was holding the star meteorite sword. This power of blazing flames is directly added to my body. If I have enough of this power of blazing flames, my fists and legs would become the sharpness sword I have. Feng's face was covered in surprise. There were so many blacksmiths in Manhwa continent, but he had never heard of any blacksmith who could turn their own body into a weapon with special traits, or for example, gaining sharpness. He was likely unique in this Manhwa continent. The forging session ended. Feng started to clean up the residue in the forging furnace, but when he gazed at a corner, those star meteorite swords lying there made him stunned. Why are there more than 30 of them? Didn't Militon give me 20 star cloud rocks? 20 star cloud rocks should be able to forge only 20 star meteorite swords. 20 star cloud rocks were placed in the forging furnace and forged at the same time. There was no failure at all. In fact, there were more than 10 extra swords. This situation should only be possible for an advanced blacksmith who had incredibly deep attainment and high proficiency. But Feng had unknowingly reached this stage. He did not even know what happened here. It was simply unbelievable. If news of this was spread, Feng's reputation as a genius blacksmith would immediately be known far and wide. He was so young. But he could already make Stage 3 weapons. And his forging techniques had risen to such a level. One had to know, even in some large cities, Stage 3 blacksmiths who had spent their entire lives forging might not even have half of Feng's 100% success rate. Late at night, outside the blacksmith shop, a horse carriage from the city lord manor arrived. This time, Militon's subordinates did not come. The Osborne City lord had arrived personally. Evidently, Militon was quite concerned with the forging of this batch of Stage 3 weapons. The sky had just turned dark when he rushed over immediately. My precious blacksmith friend, I am definitely not suspecting your abilities. I just want to see how many star meteorite swords you have forged. Don't worry, for Stage 3 weapons, as long as you have a 90% success rate and forge 18 of them, I will give you the gold coins for 20 swords. Militon laughed as he entered the blacksmith shop. Once he finished his words, his mouth could not be shut anymore. He started at the corner in shock. There were many star meteorite swords that had already been forged. Long after, Militon finally reacted as he looked like he had found a treasure. His breathing intensified as he could not help but ask, "Oh my goodness! Is this reality? Oh great deity of forging, how did he possibly create 30 star meteorite swords from 20 star cloud rocks? My friend, are you the illegitimate son of the great deity of forging?" Chapter 19. Chapter 19, Magic Defensive Equipment. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. In Militon's mind, as long as Feng could make 18 star meteorite swords from 20 star cloud rocks, even if they were not perfect creations, he would still be an outstanding blacksmith. But Feng's performance was simply too out of his expectations. Being able to make 30 star meteorite swords out of 20 star cloud rocks, other than being the illegitimate son of the great deity of forging, he could not think of any other explanation. This was no longer within the realm of an outstanding blacksmith. He was a genius. Feng was a genius among blacksmiths. Feng, my friend, from today onwards, you are my eternal friend. In this Osborne City, as long as I am still the city lord, your words will be equivalent to my commands. Regarding those who attacked you in the past, Avril, Osla, and the former city lord's people, I will get my men to get rid of them all now. Within the blacksmith shop, Militon's attitude towards Feng became even more respectful than before. He seemed to have been completely awed by such incredible forging abilities. It could be said, Feng from Osborne City was the most amazing blacksmith that he had ever seen. Even those master blacksmiths from the upper city that praised themselves to high heaven could not compare to him at all. Regarding Militan's praise, Yi Feng enjoyed it. After all, nobody would be unhappy about others' praise towards themselves. Furthermore, his skill was indeed worthy of getting Militan's praise. The transaction of 30-star meteorite swords and gold coins was completed very quickly. After checking the bag of gold coins, Yi Feng tossed it to one corner of the blacksmith shop. He had no interest towards gold coins, he only liked Avril, as well as forging. He wanted to improve in forging and get stronger. After Nyzo returns, he's going to be shocked when he sees so many gold coins. When he was at the blacksmith shop, he had never earned so many gold coins. How many gold coins were there? 30 or 50,000, Yi Feng could not remember clearly. It could be said that right now, in Osborne City, other than the City Lord Manor, even if the original three forces combined into one, they would not have as many gold coins as Yi Feng. Blacksmithing was an incredibly lucrative job in Manhwa continent. Especially someone like Yi Feng who could produce many weapons in a short time. His weapons were all considered high-tier weapons for Osborne City. If Yi Feng was willing, if he forged weapons without resting for a month, he could buy over the entire Osborne City. Militan left with the 30-star meteorite swords. It gradually got darker at night. Before the forging furnace, flames were raging intensely. Yi Feng had just completed one forging session. He obtained a stage 3 weapon and some fire elemental points. Right when Yi Feng was about to rest. At this time, outside the blacksmith shop, Militan returned again. Many subordinates were behind him, carrying huge boxes and bringing them over. Once the box landed on the ground, there was a rising wave of fire as the ground was completely charred black. It was evident that the thing inside had a powerful fire element. There were also several boxes that emitted a cold chilly aura from far away. They evidently had powerful ice attribute energy. Militan, what are in these boxes? Yi Feng's eyes shone brightly like he had seen treasures. Each weapon that he made would allow him to gain fire element as well as the element related to the weapon through the world creator system. And what kind of weapon had the densest elemental energy compared to other weapons? Undeniably, they were magic equipment. Earlier, Bailey from Aiden City brought the magic silver diamond in flowing water golden sand. Yi Feng sighed in pity when the anti-magic weapon was not successfully created. If the anti-magic weapon was successfully created, he would gain a new special trait, just like the star meteorite sword that he made earlier, which gave him the power of blazing flames. Militan was not acting like the Osborne City Lord at all. He was breathing heavily and making exaggerated actions. The excitement in his heart was no less than Yi Feng's. A new order. A super huge order. Magic defensive equipment. 30 Stage 2 superior grade icy armor, as well as 20 Stage 3 superior grade flaming armor. Both of our transactions earlier cannot even meet 10% of this current order. Yi Feng, my good friend, will you accept this huge order? Militan looked at Yi Feng with deep expectations, waiting for an answer. Of course, after taking 2 forging orders consecutively, if Yi Feng was tired, he would not force him. He did not dare to force this forge genius Yi Feng either. Alright. I'll accept it. Yi Feng nodded. Immediately, Militan fell into great joy. Yi Feng, after you complete the forging, we will follow our old rules. I will also take out 1 Stage 3 flaming armor and send it to your fiancée Avril. After giving the order for 50 magic defensive equipment, Militan left the blacksmith shop. Only Yi Feng was left rubbing his palms. He started to move rapidly. All of the boxes were opened. Burning heat and chilling cold started to spread in the blacksmith shop. Frost Cloud Iron. Grade, Stage 2 Superior Grade. Special trait, main material for forging ice magic defensive equipment. Red Flame Ore. Grade, Stage 3 Superior Grade. Special trait, main material for forging fire magic defensive equipment. Heart of the Burning Red Lion Tiger. Grade, Stage 3 Magic Material. Special trait, high-grade supplementary material for forging Stage 3 magic equipment. Other than the stuff in the boxes, there was also the forging formation chart of the Stage 3 red flame armor that Militan gave. At this moment, Yi Feng's breathing became incredibly heavy. If all these materials before him were used in forging successfully, how much fire elemental and ice elemental points would he get? Yi Feng did not dare to imagine it. If he really forged them all, it would be possible for him to go beyond an advanced knight and become a bronze knight, or even a 4-star magician. The creation of magic defensive equipment was not as simple as forging normal weapons. Furthermore, when he made a defensive equipment for Avril earlier, and when he made the anti-magic weapon, they both failed. This made Yi Feng feel a little nervous internally. He had never succeeded in forging defensive equipment. Moreover, this time, the defensive equipment he was making was even harder than normal weapons. It was a magic defensive equipment. It was simply too hard. One could say that even for the Stage 3 blacksmiths in a huge city, after making Stage 3 weapons for over 10 years, they would not even have attempted to forge defensive equipment or magic defensive equipment before. Defensive equipment expend much more mental energy than ordinary weapons when forging them. This is my first attempt at making these defensive equipment, I should be more careful. Saying so, Yi Feng turned on the forging furnace as flames started to rise. He carefully forged the icy armor that had lower value in comparison. The forging of defensive equipment requires countless hammer hits to take form slowly. After that, I can carve formations and make the magic energy contained within flow towards the various parts of the armor. Yi Feng started to vigilant forge the equipment. Chapter 20. Chapter 20, Forging begins. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Icy armor was only Stage 2 superior grade. Because it was lower in level, the difficulty of forging was also smaller compared to the other armor. One by one, pieces of frost cloud iron was tossed in. The ores that were originally thick and emitting frost energy immediately had a reaction when they were placed into the forging furnace with high temperature. White steam started to rise and nearly put out the fire of the entire forging furnace. Because of this, Yi Feng started to fluster a little. But thankfully, within the forging furnace, under the gathering of Yi Feng's fire magic, the frost energy inside the frost cloud iron was extracted successfully like it was liquid. Waving the hammer in his hand, the red frost cloud iron was hammered continuously. Before long, one arm of the entire armor took form. Just one arm of the defensive equipment without the formation carved on it took Yi Feng more than an hour to complete. For regular weapons, even if he was forging Stage 3 weapons, by this time, he would have already made 3 of them. Defensive equipment consumes too much mental energy. Yi Feng let out a breath as he continued to forge. The frost cloud iron had reached a temperature where it could be molded within the forging furnace, but there was still a time limit. Yi Feng had to completely forge this piece of armor during that period of time. Hammering continued. Bam bam bam. The dull sound rang continuously in the blacksmith shop. The night gradually faded away. By dawn, the sun started to rise. 2 to 3 hours passed again, the armor was almost fully forged, only the iron boots were left. As long as the iron boots were completed, Yi Feng would be able to carve the formation onto the entire armor at one go. He could then fuse in the special trait of the frost cloud iron. By then, this Stage 2 icy armor would pretty much be completed. The closer he reached the crucial timing, the more vigilant Yi Feng became. At this moment, Yi Feng was in deep concentration. Even as sweat dripped down his chin, he did not bother with it. There was little time left. If the final portion of the frost cloud iron was not turned into iron boots in time, this entire frost cloud iron would be wasted. It would mean that the forging had failed. Eventually, as the final strike was made by the hammer, a beautiful and exquisite knight's armor appeared before Yi Feng's eyes. By now, 5 hours had passed. The sun had already started to rise. Under the light of the sun, this beautiful knight's armor shone with brilliant light. Currently, it did not have much defensive effects yet. Next, the carving of the formation was the most important segment. Firm formation, icy formation, and ice blade formation. In just 2 hours, Yi Feng had to quickly carve these formations onto the armor. Furthermore, he had to succeed in all three of them. If either one failed, this Stage 2 icy armor's creation would end up in failure. Even though the level of this equipment was not high, the number of steps needed was shockingly high. In the upper city of Osborne City, Aiden City, there were many Stage 4 master blacksmiths that did not want to deal with the forging of Stage 2 or 3 defensive equipment, simply because the gains did not match the effort they had to put in. Forging defensive equipment was like a huge battle. The chances of failure was high. One would also feel extremely fatigued both physically and mentally. In the case of some master blacksmiths, if the price was not high or if they were not making defensive equipment for their friends or loved ones, almost none of them would bother with such a strenuous and unrewarding task. The effort needed to make such an armor was equivalent to forging 5 to 6 weapons of similar quality or even higher. In any case, from what Feng knew, Nyzo did not like to forge defensive equipment. He had never been seen forging it either. The 3 formations have finally been carved successfully. Ha ha ha. Only the final step is left. As long as I fuse the special trait of the Frost Cloud Iron back into the armor again, and then use the frost energy to activate the 3 formations, the Stage 2 icy armor will be completed. Feng let out a deep breath. He was mentally exhausted. The World Creator's system allowed him to gain the respective elemental points to raise his strength after successfully forging weapons or defensive equipment. If not for this, with Feng's nature, no matter how much money he was given, he would not bother making these icy armors and flaming armors for Militan. Hopefully, the reward from making this magic armor can match my efforts. Feng's mind tensed up again. The hammering continued, attempting to strike the special trait of the Frost Cloud Iron which could not coexist with the fire back into the armor, but there was still a barrier between the two. This made Feng break out in cold sweat. Eventually, Feng decided to take a risk. He rubbed his palms as an explosive fireball appeared. He threw it into the forging furnace. Under the burning of the explosive fireball, the barrier between them vanished. The special trait slowly fused into the armor. Success! The icy armor was successfully forged. Cold frosty air spread out of the forging furnace at this moment. Firm formation, icy formation, and ice blade formation, these 3 formations were also fully activated on the armor. At that instant, the forging furnace's fire was put out. But that was no longer a problem. After forging his first magic defensive equipment, Feng breathed roughly as he could not conceal the excitement and joy in his heart. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging a Stage 2 peak icy armor. You have obtained 1000 fire elemental points, and 500 ice elemental points. Feng was very happy. His effort was not in vain. He finally created his first magic defensive equipment. Even though it was only at Stage 2 peak, it had already far exceeded many senior Stage 3 blacksmiths in Aiden City. After all, even in a large city like Aiden City, many senior Stage 3 blacksmiths had never succeeded in forging a defensive equipment. Feng had already passed this hurdle, while many blacksmiths were still stuck before the hurdle with no way of progressing. The reward is really high. Such a large number of fire and ice elemental points, it is much higher than forging a Stage 3 superior grade weapon. Feng could not help but look forward to it. Even a Stage 2 peak icy armor could give such a reward equivalent to making a Stage 3 superior grade weapon. Then, if he forged the Stage 3 peak flaming armor, would he be able to receive elemental points comparable to making a Stage 4 weapon? Stage 4 weapons were used by existences above advanced knights, the Bronze Knights. For star magicians were on that level as well. After the first forging succeeds, the remaining ones will become much easier. After I completely forge all of the icy armors, I will immediately start on the flaming armors. Hopefully, I can grow to the level of a Bronze Knight or even reach the boundary of a 4-star magician. After taking in a deep breath, Feng took the icy armor out of the forging furnace and gathered his fire magic again, starting a new round of forging. Chapter 21. Chapter 21, Red Flame Armor, Bronze Knight. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Inside the blacksmith shop, for 3 days and nights, Feng forged the Stage 2 icy armor without rest. Bam! 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 As his hammer struck, the sound echoed continuously. As icy armors were made one by one, Feng made great gains. His eyes were shining brightly as he gradually got familiar with the forging of defensive equipment. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging a peak stage 2 icy armor. You have obtained 1000 fire elemental points and 500 ice elemental points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging a peak stage 2 icy armor. You have obtained 900 fire elemental points and 400 ice elemental points. As the system notification continued to ring, Feng's strength rose rapidly as he absorbed the fire elements and ice elements. Originally, he was at the level of a medial class advanced knight, but at this moment, he was already stepping into the realm of superior class. One had to know, for an advanced knight to go from medial class to superior class, at least 3 to 5 years of tough cultivation was needed. But here, Feng advanced rapidly by just hammering and forging some armors. Not only that, even his magician cultivation, which had been stagnant for some time, rose as well, moving towards the peak of a 3-star magician. As he continued to forge icy armors successfully, Feng's proficiency at forging the knight's armor, carving the 3 formations, as well as the final step of fusing the special trait, became increasingly higher at a rapid speed. As he completed more and more armors. Within the blacksmith shop, at a corner, there was a pile of knight's armors that emanated a cold, chilly aura. On the ground, there were already patches of frost and rising cold air. It was finally time to forge a flaming armor. The forging of the flaming armor was not too different from forging the icy armor. There was only one extra step. That was to separate the flaming special trait of the burning red lion tiger's heart, and at the final step, he had to fuse it into the armor along with the red flame ore. Even though this extra step made it slightly harder, Feng had already started to master the crux of forging armor. Inside the forging furnace, flames surged as pieces of red flame ore started to melt after reaching their melting point. Feng's hammer moved rapidly, striking continuously as the knight's armor soon took form. He then carved all 3 formations, flame formation, explosive fire formation, and firm formation, at one go. Next was the step to separate the special trait of the burning red lion tiger's heart. Feng felt very relaxed about this. Explosive fireball appeared suddenly, entering the burning red lion tiger's heart as it seemed to have an intense reaction and started to beat rapidly. Bam! The heart burst as droplets of molten liquid flowed within the forging furnace, different from the flames already within the furnace. As time passed, the 2 special traits slowly fused into the armor. Feng watched with anticipation as he waited nervously to see if the flaming armor would be successfully created. Bam! Flames surged. At this moment, within the forging furnace, the fire grew by 3 to 5 times, almost burning Feng's hair. Flames seared on the newly created armor. If a noble advanced knight wore it, he would look like an imposing flame knight. Of course, this flaming appearance was only so evident because it had just come out of the furnace. Success! Peak Stage 3 flaming armor has been forged successfully. Feng was extremely happy. At this moment, he felt a surging strength in his body. His entire body's strength seemed to have been elevated to a whole new level. Rising above an advanced knight, he became a bronze knight. In the 4 forces of Osborne City, no bronze knight had ever appeared. But now, Feng was a great bronze knight. He was the sole bronze knight in Osborne City. Right now, if the strongest person in Osborne City, the advanced knight Avril, appeared before Feng, his head would burst like a watermelon from one punch. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging a Peak Stage 3 flaming armor. You have obtained 3000 fire elemental points and 1000 fire elemental points. The system notification rang. However, at this moment, Feng could not care about it. After succeeding in making the first flaming armor, he started to forge the second one. He intended to complete the order in one go. And most importantly, using the reward from forging these armors, he wanted to push his magician cultivation to the realm of a 4-star magician as well. When he was a 3-star magician, Feng did not need to use incantations to unleash the powerful fire magic, explosive fireball. The truth was, Feng was quite curious about the extent and type of fire magic he could instantly cast after becoming a 4-star magician. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging a peak stage 3 flaming armor. You have obtained 3,000 fire elemental points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging a peak stage 3 flaming armor. You have obtained 3,000 fire elemental points. System notifications rang continuously. Eventually, Feng completed the final flaming armor that was ordered. Bam! At this moment, Feng felt his mind becoming clearer. His mental power was also growing rapidly. It seemed to have been elevated to another level. In his current condition, he could even clearly see the fire elements moving around in the surroundings. Starfire meteorite. Feng snapped out of that state. Bam! In his palm, a meteorite fireball that carried explosive flames slowly manifested, emitting a dangerous aura. This was a 4-star magic. Normally speaking, if caught unguarded, even a superior class bronze knight would be heavily injured if not dead from a direct hit by this starfire meteorite. Even though magicians were very weak at close combat, the magic that they used were naturally more destructive compared to the methods of knights. The more of the same armor that I make, the fewer elements I will be rewarded with. Until eventually, I will no longer gain any rewards from making them. Osborne City is simply too small. Even if Militon gives me many orders, they will be limited to stage 3 materials. After becoming a 4-star magician and a bronze knight, this is already the limit. After completing all of the ordered armors, Feng created another stage 3 weapon, but the elements that he received were as good as none. Seeing this, Feng could not help but frown. After getting used to the vast amount of elements that he received from forging, getting so few elements from making a stage 3 weapon made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Osborne City is too small. If I were to leave, where can I go to find new materials? At this moment, Feng gazed afar. He wondered if he should explore the outside world and search for higher stage materials to refine new weapons. Chapter 22. Chapter 22, Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Forging ordinary stage 3 weapons could no longer give him a decent amount of elements. This made Feng slightly anxious. Eventually, he made the decision to leave Osborne City to find better materials for forging so that he could raise his strength. Osborne City's City Lord Manor. After Feng sent this batch of magic armors to them, he was sent off by Militon as he rode the horse carriage and went south. His destination was Phoenix Nest City. Rumors state that it is the land of spirits with countless treasures. I hope it will not disappoint me. On the horse carriage, Feng said to himself. Phoenix Nest City was very close to the land of chaos and land of spirits. For this trip, Feng was heading for the land of spirits to try and find treasures within it. It would be best if he could get stage 4 forging materials. In the land of spirits, there were countless treasures. Large batches of adventurers would go there in search of fortune and opportunities. Every year, there would be adventurers who found extremely precious treasures, rising up rapidly and becoming a powerful magician or an expert knight. In Phoenix Nest City, the Mercenary Guild. Feng pushed the door and entered. His gaze swept around the main hall of the guild. He was trying to find a reliable mercenary group to join. It would be best if they were a group that often went in the land of spirits, but their strength could not surpass him, otherwise it would be dangerous. Regarding the land of spirits, Feng was not familiar with it. There would be many problems if he did not have the company of senior and experienced mercenaries. You guys have no idea how dangerous it was the last time we went to the land of spirits. We found a star cloud rock mine. In the end, a Minotaur tribe was lured to us. It was all thanks to our leader who killed a Minotaur with each slash, saving the entire group in the end. A series of loud bragging could be heard by Feng. Feng turned to look. He saw that at a nearby table, there was a youngster wearing leather armor and drinking malt beer. He was praising and bragging about his leader. On his chest, there was a brass medallion with the pattern of a blazing flame. Within Phoenix Nest City, the 12th positioned Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps? Feng looked at the ranking of the guilds that was displayed in the hall. He walked towards the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps members who were turning in their mission. This Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps seemed to be moving around the land of spirits most of the time. They were very experienced and not too strong either, suiting Feng's requirements. Other than the middle-aged man with grayish-white hair and brown pupils who was their leader and also an advanced knight, the rest of the members were all intermediate knights. We do not accept private requests, thank you. The sole female member of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps, the blonde and sexy beauty with blue eyes and long legs, saw Feng walking over and immediately rejected. Are you recruiting new members? Feng asked. The land of spirits was not without danger. In the land of spirits, there were lucky ones who became rich overnight and earned a vast amount of gold coins, soaring to the peak of their lives. There were also many people who died there, becoming nameless adventurers that nobody remembered. Other than the demon beasts in the land of spirits, the inhabitants of the land of chaos would often act as bandits to rob those returning mercenaries who had just completed their adventure. The land of chaos had no laws, nobody ruled over it, it grew rapidly like wild grass. Within it, there were all sorts of races. There were vile criminals who committed heinous crimes, there were merchants who pursued solely profits, there were even beastmen, foxes, blood pythons, humanoids, tiger-headed humanoids, and others. Those adventurers who went to the land of spirits alone were simply easy rich targets for those bandits from the land of chaos. We don't need any. You can tell that our group's requirements are quite high. You need to at least be an intermediate knight to join us. After all, our leader is a great advanced knight. Our Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps is ranked 12th in the entire Phoenix Nest City. Even before the middle-aged leader of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps spoke, all the members proudly rejected Feng. In the guild hall, there were many gazes towards Feng. Some were laughing at him in mockery. Ha ha ha. This kid is an elementary knight at most. He wants to join the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps, but he does not even know their minimum requirement. An elementary knight may not be of any help in the land of spirits, he may even be a burden. After the wave of laughter, the middle-aged advanced knight leader walked over and shook his head, rejecting Feng. Kid, stop dreaming of becoming an adventurer. Study hard and get into the Knights Academy, that is better than anything else. Hurry up and go home. After saying that, Galileo took the mission paper and brought his members to leave the hall and lead to the land of spirits. Right at this time, a lump of fire appeared in the hall of this guild, attracting the shocked gazes of everyone. A magician? Oh heaven! Instantly casted fireball. How long has it been since a peak stage 2 magician came to our mercenary guild in Phoenix Nest City? Oh great deity of mercenaries, this esteemed peak stage 2 magician is so young, did he start meditating from birth? Waves of gasps could be heard. Even the employees of the guild looked towards Feng, wanting to run to him and ask if he was going to sign up and become a mercenary. The truth is, I am a fire elemental magician. Feng rubbed his nose and said slowly. Leader Galileo, who was about to leave the mercenary guild, stared with wide eyes. He jumped thrice with one movement, quickly arriving before Feng as he hugged. My friend, from today onwards, you will be a member of our Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps. Even if you want the sole female member of our group, Jeffeni, to be your girlfriend, I can help you with it. The moment Feng showed his identity as a magician, the members of Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps no longer showed any proud attitude towards him, they were all smiling at him kindly. Even the cold and sexy beauty, Jeffeni, showed Feng a warm smile. Welcome, new member. My name is Jeffeni. If you want me to be your girlfriend, I can consider it. In the mercenary guild, all of the representatives of the various mercenary groups showed expressions of regret. They pounded their chests in frustration, angry that they had reacted too slowly. Earlier, before the leader of Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps Galileo reacted, they should have ran away with this peak stage 2 magician. He was a magician after all. Not long after, Feng got more familiar with the members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps. he learned that their leader Galio had accepted a new mission. The destination was the Land of Spirits. Before going to the Land of Spirits, I need to prepare some things: healing potions, energy potions, elemental potions, and others, Yifeng thought to himself. There was still half a day until the mercenary group set off to the Land of Spirits. He had ample time to prepare these potions. Chapter 23. Chapter 23, Black Poison Wolf. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. During this period of time when he was making transactions with Militant in Osborne City, Yifeng had accumulated a lot of gold coins. Even though he only brought a portion of them, he still had several thousand gold coins. In the shop of Phoenix Nest City, after looking for half a day, Yifeng gained a new bag on his back. It was filled with potions that he prepared. The quantity was not small. In any case, he did not lack gold coins. I bought many potions. It is quite troublesome to carry them. If only I had a spatial bag, but these things are quite rare. I hope that in the future, I can make my own spatial bag. Yifeng sighed and said. Afterwards, he went to the city gate of Phoenix Nest City. The members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps were already waiting for him there. Dimitri, who was the leather-armored young man drinking mulled beer earlier in the mercenary guild and bragging loudly, waved at Yifeng. Yifeng, we're here, everyone is waiting for you. After the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps assembled, Galio brought everyone to rush towards the Land of Spirits. They had limited time after all. Phoenix Nest City was separated from Land of Spirits by a forest. It was a miasma forest that was covered in poisonous gas. Poisonous gas spread in that area. For the knights of the mercenary group, crossing that miasma forest was an arduous and difficult journey. Because if any situation arose in the miasma forest, they would need to fight. Knights were the most vulnerable because it was easy for poisonous gas to enter their body during combat. It could be said. In this miasma forest, knights were unable to use their full strength in combat. They were at least 30% weaker from the start. But magicians were not too affected by it. This was also why so many mercenary guilds became excited when Yifeng revealed that he was a peak stage 2 magician in the mercenary guild, and also the fact that he had fire magic that had powerful destructive properties. Magicians had status above knights of the same level after all. Especially in a place like the miasma forest, magicians had a natural advantage. They were the safety net of the mercenary group. Yifeng, this is the first time you are entering a miasma forest. Don't worry too much, just cover your mouth and don't take in deep breaths. The only danger in here are the demon beasts that may be migrating from the nearby forests. But there is no need to worry too much. This area that we are traveling across is the peripheral area connected to the Land of Spirits. Unless we are extremely unlucky, in the usual case, we will only meet stage 2 demon beasts. Ali carried his heavy sword and smiled while speaking to Yifeng. He was an upper-tier intermediate knight. He was only a step away from becoming an advanced knight. In the entire mercenary group, other than the leader Galio, he was the most senior mercenary. Galio sent Ali to protect the magician Yifeng, who had weak physical combat abilities. At this point in time, Yifeng was guarded at the center. The leader Galio was walking at the front while the other members walked by the left and right. The entire Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps had already entered the territory of the miasma forest. In just about 20 minutes, they would be able to pass the miasma forest and reach the Land of Spirits. At this time, after hearing Ali's words, Yifeng stopped in his tracks. Once he stopped, the entire Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps had to stop with him. The leader Galio and the rest of the members looked towards Yifeng in confusion. Yifeng, what happened? Yifeng looked at the shaded area deep within the forest ahead of them. He could not help but ask Ali. Demon beast. Is it hiding in there? The other members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps looked towards the area that Yifeng pointed to, but none of them saw anything. They only saw shadows in the forest. The only advanced knight, Galio, seemed to have seen something. His expression changed as he raised the sword in his hand, shouting, "Be careful! Demon beast! There is a considerably large demon beast in that forest. It is at least peak stage 2. The perception of a magician is much sharper than us knights. Galio shouted for the entire group to get prepared. Deep within the forest, the demon beast hiding in the shadow also realized that its concealment was seen through. It stopped hiding itself, instead, started to move out slowly. It had a huge body that was covered in black fur, its every breath corroded the surrounding trees. The length of its entire body was at least 4 meters long. Even the most muscular advanced knight, leader Galio, seemed petite in front of this huge demon beast. Gasp! Stage 3 demon beast, Black Poison Wolf. Galio's expression changed. Even the other 7 to 8 members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps took in a sharp breath, their eyes filled with terror. A Stage 3 demon beast was not weaker than an advanced knight. Furthermore, this was the miasma forest. The Black Poison Wolf had a natural territorial advantage. It would not be restricted like the other demon beasts. In this miasma forest, the ones affected were only the knights of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps. Damn it, I did not hear of any new Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf appearing in the miasma forest these few days. Our luck is simply too bad. In the worst case, we might all die here. The members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps were all flustering. The only calm person was Feng. Even the advanced knight, leader Galio, was only putting up a front now. Galio was incredibly flustered internally. He had killed at least 7 to 8 Stage 3 demon beasts. But trying to kill a Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf in the miasma forest was simply too much for him. Roar! The Black Poison Wolf growled, its 4-meter-long body erupted with terrifying force. It charged towards the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps with surging poisonous gas. This was a hunt. A complete hunt. This Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf had appeared in the miasma forest long ago. The reason it had not been discovered was because all the adventurers and mercenaries that saw it were dead. Offensive skill, heavy slash. Galio shouted. He raised his knight's heavy sword and slashed down with great intensity at the head of the Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf. At this moment, he could not care if the poisonous gas got into his body. The only that he could do was to try to kill this Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf with one strike. Otherwise, if this dragged on, he would die from getting overwhelmed by the poisonous gas in the miasma forest eventually. Bam! The sword missed. The Black Poison Wolf actually stopped itself in midair, dodging this slash attack that had great power. At the next moment, the advanced knight Galio, who had never failed while traveling the land of spirits, was sent flying by the Black Poison Wolf's attack. His armor shattered. Blood flowed out like a stream. He was in a pathetic state. The only advanced knight of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps had been defeated in one instant. He was no longer in his peak condition. Chapter 24. Chapter 24, Stage 3 Peak Magician? Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Leader lost? Oh heaven! Great deity of mercenaries, our leader is a great advanced knight. He actually got defeated so easily. Is our Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps going to be wiped out here in the miasma forest today? How can this? Seeing that the advanced knight Galio had lost in an instant, none of the members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps could even imagine it happening. The situation was extremely dangerous now. If they stayed in this miasma forest for a long time, even if they did not get killed by this Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf, they would die from the absorption of the poisonous gas. However, they were currently at the center of the miasma forest. Even if they wanted to go to the land of spirits or return to Phoenix Nest City, they would need to spend 10 minutes to leave the forest. Within these 10 minutes, ignoring the poisonous gas, just the Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf could wipe out the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps more than 10 times over. Quickly escape. This Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf is very crafty. None of you are its match. Hurry up and run! Galio screamed. At this moment, he was forcing himself to get up. He held his knight's heavy sword and slowly got up shakily, wanting to try and kill this Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf again. Unfortunately, in the ruthless eyes of this Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf, there was a human-like mockery gaze. It did not fight against him. Turning around, the Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf charged towards the other members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps. Seeing this, Galio got increasingly anxious. Even an advanced knight like him suffered a loss against this beast. In their mercenary group, those intermediate knights were simply like a snack for this wolf. What could they do? Escape! Galio jumped up and slashed with his heavy sword again. Offensive skill, heavy slash. Strong gusts of wind surged, but it was a futile attempt. He had missed again, not managing to even touch the Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf. The Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf did not give the great advanced knight Galio a chance to fight. It wanted to drag out the fight with this advanced knight and let him die naturally in this environment. We're doomed. Our Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps is doomed. Against such a vicious and cruel beast, even if there were 2 or 3 advanced knights instead of just myself, the top 10 mercenary groups of Phoenix Nest City would also get wiped out here. The 9th position Rift Wind mercenary group that disappeared in the last 20 days had not been seen by any adventurer. Most likely, all the ones who saw them in the land of spirits had already died in this beast's hands. Galio had an ashen expression. He seemed to feel despair already. But right at this time. In the miasma forest, blazing hot fire elements gathered together. There was no incantation heard before it. Bam! A palm-sized fireball with explosive markings appeared along the route that this Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf was taking. Howl! The Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf moved swiftly, changing direction instantly, causing this explosive fireball to miss its target. Instantly casted fire magic, and this is the Stage 3 explosive fireball? This power belongs to a peak Stage 3 magician at least. Oh heaven! Oh great deity of magic, Feng, you are not just a noble magician, you are even a powerful 3-star fire magician? The members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps spoke with trembling voices. At this moment, they were feeling despair from facing this ferocious Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf, but now, there was a spark of hope in their eyes. A Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf against a peak 3-star magician, the odds of victory was likely even between them. Peak 3-star magician? And he is able to instantly cast fire magic? Feng is actually so powerful? Galio also had a shocked expression. Soon, it turned into intense joy. An upper-tier advanced knight together with a peak 3-star magician, with this level of strength, they had some confidence of killing the Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf, even in this miasma forest. It moved so quickly? It seems that it has eaten quite a number of advanced knights. This Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf is likely a peak Stage 3 demon beast. Do I need to go and break its legs and restrain its speed so that the fireball can burn it to death? Feng mumbled to himself. The truth was, this was the first time he was attacking a demon beast of this level. He lacked experience. Even though his knight and magician cultivation levels were far above the Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf, he could not kill it instantly on the spot. If other bronze knights or 4-star magicians saw this, they would likely jump up in anger and break Feng's knee. None of you actually asked about my level as a magician. Responding to the shouting of his group, Feng blinked in an innocent manner. At the same time, Feng thought internally. Just peak 3-star magician realm already shocked them to this extent. If they knew that he was actually a 4-star magician, would they all come to hug his leg and cry out loud? Feng, quickly attack. At this moment, Galio displayed the experience of a senior mercenary leader. He tossed out his knight's heavy sword and accurately predicted the Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf's location, causing this beast to lose one leg immediately. Bam! Explosive fireballs appeared again. This time, 5 to 6 of them shot out. At that instant, this Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf cried out pitifully. Its head was completely charred. It lay on the ground with no signs of life remaining. Galio skillfully skinned its Stage 3 wolf skin and extracted the Stage 3 demon core, handing them to Feng. Feng looked at the pitiful Galio and the other members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps. He wanted to say something. But suddenly, the system notification rang in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a Stage 3 wolf skin and a Stage 3 demon core. Detecting a poison attribute special trait, the host has been rewarded with the ferocious poison formation chart. Yifeng received the demon core and the wolf skin. He looked at the pitiful group and wanted to compensate them. After we get to Osborne City, I will make a weapon for each of you. The ones you are using are too low in grade. Everyone was surprised. Actually, I am a Stage 3 blacksmith. Everyone was in disbelief. After resting for a while, Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps set off again. Yifeng also talked to them during this time after they got closer to each other. After knowing that Yifeng was a Stage 3 blacksmith and had specially come out to find forging materials of higher quality, Galio instantly described the situation of the Land of Chaos and its relevant details. I am not bragging, the City of Chaos is a place where all sorts of loot can be transacted. If you want to find higher quality forging materials, that is the place to go. Ali said at the same time. While conversing, the group finally got out of the miasma forest. Chapter 25. Chapter 25, Spatial Rock. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. A prosperous but somewhat dim-looking city slowly appeared in front of the eyes of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps. It was called the City of Chaos. Be it the races living in the Land of Chaos or the adventurers and mercenaries who want to enter the Land of Spirits in search of treasure, this was the place where they would rest. After fighting against the peak Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf in the Miasma Forest, the leather armor of the members of the group had suffered considerable damage. They needed to repair or change them in this city. Your weapons are too low grade. Give them all to me. I will reforge them for you and add in a sharpness formation to raise your combat strength. After passing a blacksmith shop, Yifeng looked at the forging furnace with some desire. He paid the shop some gold coins and spoke to the members of the mercenary corps. The blacksmiths in the shop were all scoffing and watching at one side when they heard that Yifeng was a Stage 3 blacksmith. The reason was simple, Yifeng was too young. They would barely believe him if he bluffed that he was a Stage 2 blacksmith, but claiming to be a Stage 3 blacksmith, it was simply unbelievable. I'll start first, let's have a look at Yifeng's capabilities. Galio laughed loudly as he handed the knight's heavy sword that was covered in bite marks and chipped parts. The heavy sword did not need any sharpness formation, he could add in other formations that were the basic for Stage 3 blacksmiths to learn. After all of the weapons were reforged by Yifeng, the blacksmiths in the shop were all fully convinced. They looked at him in shock and amazement. Next, I need to purchase high-grade forging materials. In the City of Chaos, on the transaction street that was extremely vibrant, Yifeng followed the members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps as they toured almost the entire city. Single horn of the green flame-horned beast. Grade, Stage 3 Superior Grade. Special trait, one of the forging materials for the sturdy Stage 3 defensive shield. It can also be used as a supplementary forging material for a Stage 3 weapon. Spine of the Black Tiger. Grade, Stage 4 Inferior Grade. Special trait, can be the supplementary material of a magic weapon, or the main component of a Stage 3 weapon. There is a 1% chance after forging to retain the ferocity of the Black Tiger. Silver Sand Rock. Grade, Stage 3 Superior Grade. Special trait, an extremely rare supplementary forging material. It can be used in defensive equipment, weapons, or magic tools. Because it is very unstable, it is hard to forge into a solid object. Black Ink Crystal Rock. Grade, Stage 4 Superior Grade. Special trait, precious material for the forging of magic weapons. It can also be used as the magic source for a 4-star magician's wand. Yifeng left Osborne City while bringing 9,000 gold coins with him. After touring the entire City of Chaos, he used them all. Not only that, he even borrowed nearly 2,000 gold coins from the leader Galio. He nearly felt a severe heartache. However, his gains were quite huge. He gained all sorts of Stage 3 superior grade forging materials. There were also some Stage 4 forging materials. Yifeng was extremely happy. Yifeng was only regretful that he did not bring more gold coins when he left Osborne City, otherwise, he could buy even more ores. After this trip to the City of Chaos, when Feng returns to Osborne City, he would be ready to start forging Stage 4 weapons. In fact, he could also start attempting to forge defensive equipment, weapons, or magic weapons. He had sufficient high-quality forging materials now. However, my biggest gain is not the forging materials, but the spatial rock in my hand. Hee. I used less than 30 gold coins to buy this spatial rock that is worth 3,000 to 10,000 gold coins in the auction. This is a worthwhile trip indeed. Feng smiled and said. He was holding onto a grayish rock. It looked no different from an ordinary rock on the streets. However, only Stage 3 or higher blacksmiths could recognize that this unassuming rock was actually the treasured material for forging the legendary spatial bag. Spatial rock. This thing did not have a grade, it was only rare, mystical, and hard to find. If it was forged into a low-grade spatial bag, its value would rise by several times. With a minimum of 10,000 gold coins, it would almost match the price of a Stage 4 magic defensive equipment. If it could be forged into a higher-grade spatial ring, then the value would range between 50 to 100,000 gold coins. It would often be unavailable even if one had the funds to buy it. Opportunities were necessary. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the blueprint for forging the spatial bag, as well as the blueprint for forging the spatial ring. In Feng's mind, the steps to make the spatial bag and ring, as well as the formations needed to be carved on them, entered continuously without stop. With these knowledge, even if Feng was just a Stage 3 blacksmith with no experience in successfully making a Stage 4 weapon, he had a 90% certainty of forging a spatial equipment. You are referring to this kid? He is the sucker who spent over 10,000 gold coins in the 4 streets of the City of Chaos and bought a bunch of ores and materials? That's right, this is the kid. Far away, at a corner of the street, 2 peculiar figures appeared. They looked towards Feng sinisterly. There was greed in their eyes. Behind the blazing flame mercenary corps, Feng held his spatial rock while sensing that someone was observing him, but he did not pay much attention to it. As a bronze knight and also a 4-star magician in this lawless City of Chaos, it was already a miracle that he did not turn into a bandit himself and robbed others. As for getting robbed? Feng had not even thought of the possibility. Let's go. The recuperation is done and supplies have already been stocked up. It is time to head to the Land of Spirits. Feng, are you going back to Osborne City or going to the Land of Spirits with us? Galio looked at Feng, asking for his intention. Feng rubbed his chin. Even though he had already gotten most of the high-grade materials that he needed, the Land of Spirits was just right before him. He wanted to go take a look personally. Let's go to the Land of Spirits. After all, I am quite free now. Who knows, the Land of Spirits might have even better forging materials for me to collect. Feng said slowly. Next, he followed the members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps, leaving the City of Chaos and heading towards the Land of Spirits. Right now, the sky was turning darker as it approached the time of dusk. The moment they left the City of Chaos, without getting too far, Feng and the rest heard a cold and angry voice shouting behind them. Stand there! You suckers! Hand over all of your gold coins, the treasures that you bought, and all the precious items you own. In the direction of the City of Chaos, ruthless figures approached Feng and the members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps at a rapid speed. None of them were humans, they all had dark green skin, they had snake pupils, their hair was also twisted into the shapes of snakes. In the Land of Chaos, the most murderous bandits were the members of the Heavenly Snake Tribe. They had already targeted Feng's group, wanting to intercept them along the way, to kill them and take their treasures. Chapter 26. Chapter 26, Land of Spirits. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. There were only 2 Heavenly Snake tribesmen who came to the City of Chaos. They slithered rapidly with their snake bodies, encircling the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps from the front and back in the blink of an eye. Their body size was also smaller than the Stage 3 Black Poison Wolf that the group encountered earlier. If they stood straight up, even the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps members were taller and more muscular than them. Auras of their strength surged, proving that they were both at the level of Advanced Knight. One was an upper-tier Advanced Knight, the other was a lower-tier Advanced Knight. The sturdy snake body, sharp fangs, and hideous face made them look more like demon beasts than humans. This was the cruel and brutal heavenly snake tribe that lived in the land of chaos. In the land of chaos, a kid who can spend more than 10,000 gold coins without flinching has actually hired this mercenary group to protect himself. The two heavenly snake tribesmen were laughing in contempt. In their opinion, the other side only had an Advanced Knight, Galio, who was merely an upper-tier Advanced Knight. He was of no threat to the rest of them. In a battle of 2 against 1, Galio was definitely going to die. The loot from this sucker was theirs, nothing could stop them, even if their tribe leader came personally. The two heavenly snake tribesmen had cruel gazes in their pupils. They were not going to leave anyone alive. He. Robbing others of their treasure, is this the specialty of the land of chaos? Feng laughed in a weird tone. The members of the Blazing Flame Mercenary Corps also started to laugh. They looked at the two Advanced Knight heavenly snake tribesmen with pitiful gazes. Two Advanced Knights trying to rob a peak 3-star magician who can instantly cast 3-star spells, and he was even guarded by an Advanced Knight. They were simply too foolish. One stage 3 magic could easily kill a lower tier Advanced Knight instantly. Feng, I told you already, when buying materials and spending gold coins, you should not be so flashy, but you refused to listen. Leader Galio shrugged his shoulders. He looked at himself who was about to be robbed before turning to Feng in a helpless manner and saying, Indeed. If it were us, after seeing so many gold coins, we will want to rob you too. Ali also joined in. Seeing this situation, the two heavenly snake tribesmen instantly raged. Their scary-looking faces became even more terrifying. It seems that you will not understand reality until we teach you a lesson. Watch as I devour all of you. The two powerful Advanced Knight heavenly snake tribesmen charged out from the front and back respectively, their hair turned into long snakes that bit towards the group. Heavenly Snake Tribe, offensive skill, Snake Devour. I will stall the strongest heavenly snake tribesman, Feng, using this time, use your magic to kill the other one. After that, we will. Galio held his knight's heavy sword and had a tense mood. He quickly entered his combat mode and made a plan for this fight. But right at this time. Bam! Explosive fireballs appeared abruptly. Instantly casting stage 3 magic, explosive fireball, and there are even more than one of them? Peak 3-star magician. The two heavenly snake tribesmen who were charging forward had bulging eyeballs as they quickly turned around, trying to escape from this place. The sucker that they targeted had turned into a vicious wolf in an instant. They were extremely frightened. Bam! Two charred corpses of the heavenly snake tribesmen lay on the ground. Why so much trouble when we can just kill them with magic instantly, right? Feng said slowly.